Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. I'm your host, as always, your guy Clint here, coming to you off a break week. We are rosy-cheeked. We are fresh. We're excited to have our MMA back. I got to tell you guys, every time we do this, you guys know I love my break weeks. We get a solid 7 to 9 straight weeks of UFC action. I don't take a day off. You know, we're doing 3 shows a week over here on Home of Fight, and I'm ready for a break. You know, by the end of that stretch, I am ready for a break. That exhaustion only lasts for about 3 days. By Wednesday, we're talking 2 days after I should have done like a full-on breakdown, I get the itch. I'm like, man, I'm going to start losing money on baseball if I don't have some MMA to bet. So I am more than happy to be back in the captain's chair. We are happy to have a fresh, steaming hot dumpster of a UFC Apex card to dive headfirst into this week. Thank you all so much for being here with me. And we've got my boy Dream already in the house. MMA Clips. We've got Moneyline Mills, Dick's Insider. Nichols is in here. What's going on, every freaking buddy? Your Clips, you're gonna have to wait. You're gonna have to wait. I got one for you. We'll get to that there in a minute. As you guys know, this is Home of Fight. This particular channel has been rebranded. We are Home of Bets. We're gonna be the spinoff, the little degenerate sister of the Home of Fight brand, and we just gotta rock this thing. We gotta pump this bad boy out, get those numbers up, get people in here degenning out with us every single week. Do me a favor, hit the like button for me, because I've got a guest that I've been very much looking forward to talking fights with for a very, very long time. As you guys know, we've got a bit of a back and forth, a bit of a relationship with the people over at Wager Talk, and we've had a couple Wager Talk personalities hop on the podcast before. And this week we've got none other than my guy Andy Lang, and I've been looking forward to talking fights with him for a very long time. So do me a favor, give him a big welcome. Welcome to the podcast, Andy. How you doing today, man?
I can't wait for Home of Anchor Plays. home of Method of Victory. You guys are just gonna spin off every single thing. It's great. With you, I was happy to have the week off, and then Saturday came, and I was like, "Oh,
yep,
there's no fights." So we're back at it. Got Bellator, of course, Dana White Contender Series. So little week off, and then absolutely right back into it. And of course, it's NFL Week 1, so very, very busy. But we're here to help protect the bankrolls, turn a profit for everybody, and have a lot of fun.
Love to hear it. Now, thank you very much for jumping on the show, man. I appreciate it. We're all happy that we have got some, football back to bet on, whether it be college, whether it be, NFL coming up. We got week 1 this week. We're looking to degen out on all the good stuff, but we keep it MMA for this show for the most part. Every once in a while, I'll throw a little, dart out for the people or something if I got a hot read, but usually that's hockey actually when that season rolls around.
I'm going to give you, because I knew I was coming on here, I'm going to give you a Minnesota Viking prop at the end of the show.
I like it.
And it's a 30-1. And you're not going to see it coming. So at the end of the show, I'm going to give you a 30-1 Minnesota Viking prop, and it's going to blow your socks off.
Andy, you are speaking my language. I can't wait for the end of the show now, you guys. But we've got a lot of stuff to get into first. And Dixon, my guy, I hate to disappoint you. No, it's not KIV. I'm sorry. It's not Kelly. Guys, I've been in love with Kelly since day one, like the rest of you. I actually talked to her about coming on the podcast, but she is a heathen and doesn't do MMA. She tails other people, but she doesn't cap MMA herself. So unfortunately, it's just not going to work. We won't be able to get her on here because she won't have much to do besides, talk shit and switch the subject to college football.
And she's great at that. She's the best.
Very good at that. And I've been tailing her college dogs for many, many years. So we'll let her stick to what she's good at. Me and Andy got you covered. So do me a favor, guys. Hit the like button again. We've already got 170 live viewers. So let's get this bad boy started. Let's get this show on the road. First fight of the night, UFC Vegas 97. We've got Zygimantas Ramaska, and he's taking on Nathan Fletcher. This fight, Andy, was supposed to be scheduled, I think, for the Ultimate Fighter finale card, as both these guys competed on the Ultimate Fighter. I didn't watch this season. I told everybody here on the show, I grew up on the Ultimate Fighter, man. I married my wife because while we were dating, she sat with me and watched Ryan Bader win the Ultimate Fighter. That's how I came up in MMA. So it's really sad for me that it's just got so washed and repetitive that I can't do it. It's the same old tired format. So unfortunately, I didn't stick up with it for this season. Had to go back and do some digging and watch these guys, and kind of excited because I actually feel like I found a play here on this one. Zygimantas, he's pretty young, 27 years old, very tall, very upright, comes forward, and he's violent, man. He wants to hurt people. He's got some pop in his punches, power in his hands. He likes to swing, but Andy, he gets a little reckless. Like, he'll swing so hard. You saw in his last couple of fights, he almost knocked himself over just swinging. Like, his opponent didn't even do anything. No takedown attempt, no nothing. Just him swinging for the fences, he almost fell over. And I don't think you can do that against a guy like Nate Fletcher. Nate Fletcher is 26 years old. He's a Cage Warrior fighter. And I like to talk shit on Cage Warriors, Andy. I really do. We went on that run, the McGregor era, where everybody from Cage Warriors was just stomping. You know what I mean? They make it over to the UFC. They're incredible. They're fantastic. And they're just killing it over here. And then they fell off a cliff. Like, suddenly Cage Warriors guys can't buy a win in their UFC debut. So I've been kind of playing with the angle of fading Cage Warriors guys getting their start here in the UFC. The reason I'm not doing that here is because I don't know if Zygimantas is even UFC caliber. Like, I feel like his offense is UFC caliber, but I'm not sure the rest of his game is. You know what I mean? And this kid, Nate, can wrestle. He can grapple. He's got excellent timing. He's got good top control. He's got a much tougher strength of schedule when you look at the guys that he's fought on his way up when compared to Zygimantas. I think this is going to be your classic striker versus grappler spot. And in a small cage, I will favor the grappler. Right now, the only book that I can see that's got a line on this one is Bet Online, which, if you guys are trying to stay legal stateside, etc., you can't get there. I did make a Bet Online account. I'll go ahead and fess up to it. So I went ahead and made a play minus 140 on Nathan Fletcher here on this one, because I just expect Ziggy's going to overcommit to a shot. And once he does, I don't think he can get off his back. The couple times I saw him grappling, he's more than happy to fish for arm bars from bottom. He doesn't have much of a get-up game. So I really think Nate can get on top of him. And if he's got to sit on his chest, so be it. But if he can ground and pound him or find a sub from there, I like that too. I like the favorite here, man. What do you make of this one, Andy?
I am so envious of you that you did not watch Ultimate Fighter. I watch it all, man. I watched Power Slap. Fighter. You can bet on Power Slap, right?
I have done my best to stay away from it, because if you throw a couple snails out in the backyard and give me a line, I'll bet it. So I've been trying to avoid the Power Slap betting lines.
So RIP to the Ultimate Fighter. This is a dead horse here. Not only was it not a good season, but they did this international theme to it. So not everyone could speak great English, including the coaches. It was awful to watch. It was by far the worst season they've ever done. And they got some real problems there. And the other thing that they have, the problem with this, is these guys that are coming into the house, these are mostly professionals now. Back in the day, the big selling point was you put a bunch of alcoholic fighters into a house and just let the chaos like happen. Yep. Well, you don't do that. These guys are getting up and training, and it's just not entertaining here. I'm going to go
more backyard brawls where they're slamming each other on pavement.
No. And if you watched Dana White Contender Series, if Pat Pitlick on the last Contender Series, Pat Pitlick was actually in the house as security when the let me bang bro thing happened. Those were the good old days. And now it's Power Slap. I'm telling you, the Power Slap episodes now are the old Ultimate Fighter. For betting purposes, for fun, I'll go against you on this one. It's not fun if we agree on every fight. Now, I will tell you, I'm not betting this with my own money. So Fletcher, I believe he broke his leg in that fight that he lost. He was pretty hurt. And then Ramaska, his fight was insanity. He was made for Contender Series, not the Ultimate Fighter.
That's what I have a note in here. I was going to bring it around whenever you got done, that was going to be my next line, that they should have put that kid on Contender.
Both of them would have gotten contracts, and I'm guessing both of them you're going to see the other guy in UFC, because the fight was just anarchy.
He's too fun.
It was great. So I will take Ramaska, because I get what you're saying about the grappling. I watched Fletcher make some pretty bad mistakes with his own grappling. He lost position a couple times. He didn't even get it to the third round on the Ultimate Fighter, so he lost it. I think he's a little sloppy with his grappling. Is it good enough to get Ramaska down and hold him down there for a while? Maybe, but if this is in the clinch, it's Ramaska all day. His knees are absolutely lethal. I like his chaotic style on the feet. I actually think Fletcher might get put on his back foot just a little bit too much here. And Ramaska, once he does a little bit of damage, I think he's going to slow Fletcher down. It's not a super confident play, but at plus money, I would say Ramaska. Now, I will tell you this, if the lines were flipped, I might say take plus money on the other guy because I think it's a pretty even fight. I like the reckless style. Maybe I'm a little bit of a fanboy of the just the complete chaos that Ramaska is going to try and bring to this one. Fletcher, again, coming off of a broken leg. He did lose the Ultimate Fighter. I'll take Ramaska. We'll go head-to-head on this one.
Okay, I like it. I like it. So I did put my money down on this one. I did make a bet at minus 140. I get what you're saying, and I can understand wanting to take the plus money no matter which side that lands on. I don't know, man. The way I was seeing it, it opened up Bet Online minus 140. I kind of think the money's going to come in on the favorite side, and I think I'm going to beat that line. So I didn't want to wait for it because I don't want minus 170. I don't want minus 180. You know, at that point, it'd be dog or pass, and I'm going to pick the guy I think's going to win. So I went ahead and jumped in. I usually steer clear of these super low-level, semi-regional type of fights. I just don't do well with those, Andy. I try to bet Dana White's Contender Series every single year, and I just get bent over. I can't help myself. I got to have some action. I do it anyway. Thank you, Torrance, for coming out with the most grapple-heavy game plan when I bet you inside the distance. You know, the one time I decide to trust you, buddy. At least they're giving him a third crack at it. Maybe we'll bet inside the distance again, and he'll finally come out and try and put his foot on.
3 tries. Just put him in the UFC. You want him in the UFC. Just put him in there. Why do you keep making
Dana's speech about go back to the regionals, get 3 or 4 wins, and then he's back on the same season? Like, he's just coming right back around. Oh man, Dana.
He's like Nero. Just overseeing the Coliseum. Like, he's making those 2 guys fight again. He was like, I didn't like the outcome, so fight again.
Run it back. He can do whatever he wants on Contender, man. No rules there.
I know.
Oh, man. All right, guys. So we've got a little dissension already for the first fight of the evening. You got to love it. And I've got a feeling some of you guys are going to be very, very unhappy with me for this next one. Next fight up, we've got André Petroski, and he takes on Dylan, the mindless Hulk Budka, which is just a million times better than the clean Hulk. Like, I know we went from Ion Kutalaba's got the Hulk. He took that name out. Nobody else can be the Hulk. I appreciate it because we've got multiple gods of war now in the UFC, and I'm just not a fan of that. So at least they're taking, an angle. We've got the Hulk, the clean Hulk, the mindless Hulk. Mindless is far better than clean, if we're being honest here. But guys, this is a fight that I jumped in on. I simply do not understand this line, Andy. Maybe you can help make a little bit of sense here to me, but I couldn't figure it out. André Petroski, this man, you guys were running over your grandmothers. You guys were jumping in the car, calling all of your cousins and stepping on the gas, blowing every stop sign on the way to the casino to bet Josh Fremd against André Petroski just a couple of weeks ago. What in God's name happened? Now he's sitting here as a $3 favorite over this kid, Dylan Budka. Now, it doesn't stop there, Andy, because Dylan Budka comes to us off of Dana White's Contender Series. He is 24 years old, and you guys, again, ran over grandmothers using their little walkers to get across the street. You guys plowed them over to bet Dylan Budka when he fought Cesar Almeida. Cesar Almeida, a world-class kickboxer who has a win over Alex Pereira. You guys thought Dylan Budka was good enough to bet him to minus 150 against that guy. But he's plus 250 against André Petroski, who was not good enough in your minds to beat Josh Fremd. The recency bias of this line right now is absolute madness. This should be a 100% minus 110. This should be pick'ems across the board. André Petroski, yes, he's a BJJ black belt. Yes, he has more experience. Yes, he's from, Renzo Gracie, Philly, which you guys know I love to bet against. But he's 33 years old. So he's getting towards the end of his prime, and he's fragile as all get out. The guy's got 3 losses by KO, and need I remind you, the hip strike from Jacob Malkoun that knocked him out just 1 fight ago. You guys couldn't wait to fade him because of that moment. Don't even ignore the hip strike, Andy. Ignore the hip strike. He got dropped by a jab. Malkoun has no power. He has such little power that Cody Brundage had to fake like he was injured to get a DQ when he popped him in the back of the head with an elbow. Like, the guy has soft as pillow hands can possibly be. And he dropped this man with a jab far before the hip strike ever even happened in round 1. So this guy's durability is a massive concern. And when Josh Frimm did have a span of like 20, 30 seconds on the feet, all he could do was cover up. He had absolutely nothing to offer offensively in that fight. He bites down on the mouthpiece, he swings big, massive hooks, and he tries to hit you with them or close the distance to get his hands on you and grapple with you. So he's taking on a man now in Dylan Budka, who is 11 years younger than him. 9 years. My math is off. He's 9 years younger than him. He's the same size as him. He's got the same or equal to on par grappling credentials as him. The only thing that André Petroski really, I think, has over Dylan is the experience, maybe the black belt. But we're not even talking about what's happening on the feet. A lot of people are like, well, this kid Dylan Budka can't strike. I don't care, Andy. Since when? I mean, Malkoun's a decent boxer. He's okay. I don't care that this kid can't strike. If he throws one of those big old head kicks and it's partially blocked, he still might knock out André Petroski on the feet. All he's got to do is land one. And then the whole rest of the fight, we're talking grappler versus grappler, where I've got a 9-year advantage and probably a strength advantage. And I'm pretty damn sure a cardio advantage. Now, I know a lot of people are going to question the cardio comment, Andy. I know that. That's going to be the first thing. Oh, bro, he gassed out. Guys, he took the fight on short notice. Do you not remember that? When he came in against Cesar Almeida, that was a short notice fill-in. He dominated Cesar Almeida for 7 minutes, and then, yes, he tired out because he didn't have a fight camp. He's got a full fight camp for this one. This is 5 months later, a 24-year-old kid who's going to be getting better every single time he fights. The UFC wouldn't have brought a kid like this in to the UFC in these kinds of spots and not think they've got something. It should be pick'ems, Andy. I will die on that hill. I've got 2 units on Dylan Budka, plus 240, and that line is already dropping, you guys. So if you're crazy enough to go with me and you want the dog side of things, you better get in sooner than later, because that's the Link Memorial Dog of the Week, baby. We're going big this week. We're not doing any plus 115s, no little plus 120s. We're going plus 240. We're looking for the bag. My boy Link is going to be howling from heaven, and he's going to get us home with this one, Andy. Talk to me. How wrong am I? And how much money do you have on André Petroski?
Well, friends don't let friends lay minus 300 on André Petroski.
Thank you.
Unless he's fighting Dylan Budka. Let's make it 2 for 2. I'll go head to head against you. I'm not with you on this one. We'll start with Petroski. Yes, if you're betting on Petroski, you're betting on a man who basically is the equivalent of the butt fumble. He knocked himself out on Jacob Malkoun's hip, which is, not exactly a great look. But, before that, he gets knocked out by Michel Pereira. Okay. And then he got submitted by Brian Battle back on the Ultimate Fight. Brian Battle, that, he's a legit UFC, contender. He's top 10 guy, I think. Petroski, you're always going to have questions about his cardio. Yes. You're always going to have questions about his striking. Yes. When it comes down to the grappling, the wrestling, the takedown, he's good. He made it a very clear effort that that's what he was going to do against Fremd. And I appreciated that it wasn't the most exciting fight, but he had a game plan. And he said, this Josh Fremd guy, he can't stop my takedowns. I'm going to take him down every single round, and I'm going to lay on top of him. Again, this is a contender series, so we don't need style points. We just need the win. So let's talk about the mindless Hulk of Dylan Budka. I would like to introduce you to Jet Jones. Do you know who Jet Jones is? Jet Jones is the only person that Dylan Budka has knocked out. And Jet Jones is 2-11 in his career. And that was last time that we've seen Mr. Jet Jones. Let's go back to Contender Series. He fights Chad Hanekom, one of the worst Contender Series fights you've ever seen. Hanekom was not into that fight, test positive for cocaine later. The stories are that Chad enjoyed his Las Vegas experience a little bit too much and was not exactly ready to fight. So Chad has been suspended for 9 months. Here's my problem with that. Dylan Budka couldn't finish him. Chad was a walking, coked out zombie in that fight. Let's make no bones about it. The guy was on a bender, and Budka held him up against the fence and had some wrestling. So I wondered why Dana gave him a shot in the UFC when the fight was that boring. So I actually went back and watched Dana's speech as to how Dylan Budka ended up in the UFC. Dana White did not give him a contract that night. Dana White said, I'll give you another chance on Contender Series. And then all of a sudden, Dylan Budka gets a UFC fight. And what does he do? He puts on an all-time absolute snooze fest against Cesar Almeida. Like you said, Cesar Almeida is a kickboxer guy. Dylan puts him up against the fence and just holds him there and prays and prays and prays and prays and prays. And then the second round starts and he prays and prays and prays. Except this time while he's praying, he's getting punched and elbowed in the head, gets knocked out. Here's the other problem I have with Dylan Budka. He doesn't even know what weight division he's in. This guy fought at a heavyweight a month before he fought on Contender Series. This guy weighed in 40 pounds less than Dan Stevenson. Then he goes and he fights at a different weight class.
Got the win, though.
Against 2-4 Dan Stevenson at the SCS Renegade Rumble 6.
Hey, up like 2 weight classes, though. Give the man a little credit.
I'll give him a little credit. However, when you can't finish Chad Hanekom and Dana is blaming Chad Hanekom on the reason why the fight was boring, I got questions. And then when you can't do anything to Cesar Almeida, like nothing, you can't land anything, you can't get a submission off, and your only knockout win is against Jet Jones, who is 2-11. I cannot get there with Dylan Budka. And credit to André Petroski. He found a guy with worse cardio than him. That's hard. That's really tough to do. Credit to Petroski's camp. They were like, yes, we would like to fight this guy who doesn't have very good cardio. He's not going to knock us out. I think this is Petroski in a romp and probably the most boring fight on the card. I would say like plus 140. You always have a couple snoozers, but this one could be an all-time horrific, boring, like 15 minutes we'll never get back. Absolutely. But give me Petroski. He's too good on the ground, and Budka is awful. I just cannot bet on a guy who cannot figure out what weight division he's supposed to fight at.
Fair enough. And to be fair, I did say that he could knock out Petroski. I think that's how far gone Andre's chin is. Decision is definitely the most likely outcome here. Especially if my guy is winning, it's going to be battle of the gas tanks, and it's going to be grappling heavy. There'll be some transitions, some reversals, and he just needs to win what should be a 15-minute wrestling match. But again, I would kind of put that closer to pick'ems if we're going to go wrestle for 15 straight minutes, because it's not like Petroski's some prize as far as the striking goes. So I think it could be even. I think it could be hairy. It could be a slog. And we've seen the judges recently, man. I'll take the plus 240 side. If we're looking at a split decision, they don't know who clinched more than the other guy.
Truth. Yeah, you're right. You're right about the judge. I was thinking about getting a t-shirt that said like Tai Tuivasa 3027.
Oh my Lord. Yeah, I got to tell you.
If anybody got it.
Andy, I bet Tai that night. And part of my handicap was, if it's close, they'll rob him. I was so appreciative of the 30-27. I was like, oh my Lord, my guy just got his ass beat for 15 minutes and I am alive. I could get a split here. It was the most ridiculous scorecard I have ever seen. Man, I don't pray for robberies often, but that night I was like, please. And there have been a couple of those. I was talking about it just last week. Every single show now has at least one rogue 30-27. Where it's like that card was filled out before the fight ever started. Like there's no chance that anybody saw that. Nunez against my girl Jaqueline Amorim. She got a 30-27 too. It was like, what are you guys doing?
Awful. Yeah,
brutal.
Absolutely.
More walkouts, please. Take them. Let UFC grandma come in, grab them by the ear, and just like drag them out the back.
I believe our next fight features a fighter who has benefited greatly from some of these interesting scorecards.
There's a chance that might be true. Next up, we've got Jaqueline Amorim, and she's taking on Vanessa, the little monster, Demopoulos. You guys know Vanessa made a quick jump-in appearance on the podcast one time a while back. We're fans of Vanessa Demopoulos. I appreciate her very much. And Jaqueline Amorim, 8-1, 29 years old, training out of American Top Team. She has put together a 2-fight win streak, both by finish, but that, Andy, only comes after she got the brakes beaten off her by my girl, Sam Hughes. Oh, that was just one of the most glorious calls I've ever made, with everyone telling me how stupid I was betting on my girl Sam Hughes in that spot.
Who told you betting on Sam Hughes at plus money was a bad idea? This is like one of the best ongoing bets in the entire UFC. It's just Sam Hughes plus 300. Take it.
Andy, I was early to the party. Nobody else was willing to admit that Sam had that dog in her yet. No one was aware of it yet. So I was cliff jumping, with Sam Hughes before everybody got smart to it. So feels good. Feels good to be early to the party like that. So with Jaqueline, man, world-class, slick grappler, this girl. I mean, unreal submissions, and she is hell on wheels in round one. She comes out really fast, starts really hard, and she's got decent physicality, decent wrestling, and if she can't quite get you to the ground, she is more than happy to pull guard, just whatever it takes to get you on the floor. Her ground and pound is nasty. She's got high-level reversals, so even if you do get on top of her, you're not safe. She can snap your arm from there. She can end up, finding her way to top position from there. She is deadly, but I am so, this close to just calling her round one or bust. I know she's got a round 3 win over Montserrat Ruiz. Andy, that was the biggest softball in UFC history. There has not been an easier fight with them being like, you know what, let's get you on track, than Montserrat Ruiz. We're talking Jaqueline Amorim, who's like 5'2" on a good day. And she looked like she was a full weight class bigger than Montserrat Ruiz. You run that tape back. She looks massive in there. They've got Montserrat Ruiz listed at 5 foot. I don't believe it. She's got to be like 5'10", maybe. She's tiny. And it took Jaqueline all the way until the 3rd round to get her out of there. And there were moments where Ruiz caught her in like the 2nd round, in the 3rd round, and you could see that like glassy-eyed, oh shit, on Jaqueline's face when she got popped by Montserrat Ruiz. She did what she had to do. She got the win. And then she turned around and did really well against Corey McKenna. Corey, who made just one of the most low IQ decisions to take this fight to the ground immediately and get on top of this girl. They made her win twice. The ref stepped in early and then made the cardinal mistake of pulling out and going, no, fights on. And then Amorim had to snap her arm a 2nd time. So Corey McKenna, she's probably going to have a bionic arm the next time we see her, with it getting broken twice in the same fight. Vanessa Demopoulos, 11-5, not the sexiest record, 35 years old. She was a little late to the game, but I got to tell you, Andy, I'm actually a little impressed with what she's done recently. I know the Ducote fight was a crazy split. We're talking about rough scorecards. That was a close fight. It was way closer than I expected it to be. I had a parlay with Emily Ducote on it that night. I did not think it was going to be nearly as competitive as it was, but Vanessa did really well with her hands. She landed some big shots, and she backed Ducote up at times. She might have little T-Rex arms, but she can get some force behind those things. Even though she's got a rough takedown defense percentage, I mostly blame Kanako Murata for that. She's never been submitted. She's a BJJ black belt. She's tough as nails. You can't KO her. So she'll hang around for a decision. And that's kind of my one thing with Jaqueline Amorim, is that if this fight goes long, I don't want her. And I kind of feel like we have a live dog in Vanessa Demopoulos, because the way she's been throwing those hands lately, man, I don't think Amorim is going to take those shots well. And Amorim is definitely a confidence fighter. You can see the air just leave her when she's failed on a couple of takedowns, or when she takes a couple of big shots. You can see the fight just kind of disappear from her body. That doesn't happen with Vanessa Demopoulos. So should Jaqueline probably win this fight? Yeah, but how? If she snaps her arm in round 1, I am not going to be at all surprised. But if she doesn't get a round 1 armbar, I don't think she can out wrestle Vanessa for 15 minutes. I don't think she can knock Vanessa out. I definitely don't see her winning minutes over a 15-minute fight. Man, I am so tempted. I'm this close to betting plus 250 on Vanessa Demopoulos. Talk to me, Andy. What do you see on this fight? Am I crazy? Do we have another live dog here? What are you doing?
Yeah, Vanessa is just, she's the ultimate live dog. I actually bet on her against Ducote just because the odds were just like kind of crazy here. Make no mistake, she lost the fight against Murata. That was just a terrible scorecard. She lost. There was nothing you could say about that she did awesome.
Yeah.
She was stunned that she won. When they read her name, she was stunned. I thought the decision was pretty good. Here's the thing you get with Vanessa Demopoulos, and she does this better than anybody in the UFC. Her opponents have absolutely no way to defend this, and the judges fall for it every time. Vanessa Demopoulos is the best at ending the round on her back and jumping up and celebrating like she just got a 10-8 win in that round. And it works. The body language absolutely works. I'm with you. If this goes the distance, it's going to be another crazy, weird Demopoulos win because she's always active. On her back, she's active. On the feet, she's active. There are just no dead times. And it works with the style of judging that we're seeing now. Judges want to see activity. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go.
Yep.
Even if you're on your back being controlled, she's throwing those rabbit punches and they're landing. I'm not going to bet this one, but if you were to bet it, you would just bet Amorim inside the distance and Demopoulos by decision. And you're probably going to get plus money on both sides of those because I don't see Amorim winning a decision. I don't. I do see her getting some kind of submission early, but you're right. Demopoulos doesn't stop. Once that gets into round 2, you will absolutely see Vanessa Demopoulos keep pushing forward. She will land those shots. She will celebrate at the end of those rounds. And if it's a close round and you've got Amorim, kind of sulking like, oh, well, yeah, I got punched, a few times in the last minute. And you got Demopoulos running to the corner with her hands up like she just won a gold medal. The judges are going to give it to her. So I can't get to the window on this. I think Amorim putting Amorim in your parlays is a recipe for disaster. You're just begging.
Absolutely.
You're just begging to get beat on that one. Money line, it's Demopoulos or nothing. I do think her luck is going to run out at some point. There's another person on this card whose luck is going to run out at some point. I think it's on this card. But maybe
a lot of that this week.
Maybe she squeaks out another one. I'm not betting against her. I'm not doing it. I cashed on her at a big price in the last fight, and I've just watched these judges love her style. And how do you not like her? She jumps in the arms of the announcer after she wins. Like,
Michael Bisping gets to catch her every fight.
Just so likable. And then the judges love it. So Demopoulos or pass for me on this one.
Yeah. No, I'm with you there, man. I like it. And I'm tempted to go there. Do we pull throw back to the Sam Hughes angle? Do we bet it live? Do we see if she survives round 1 and then jump in? Because we might be getting a plus 150 at the start of round 2 instead of getting plus 250. But we know the danger has passed at that point. Do you usually like spots like that? Sometimes I'm afraid of being a chicken and losing value. I bet on Dan Hooker that way. And instead of getting the plus 260 pre-flop, I laid minus 110 mid-fight. And it cashed. I would have felt a whole hell of a lot better at plus 260, but I wanted to see it first that he could defend the takedowns, that he could scramble, that he could do the damage, and that Gamrot was going to be engaging in the type of fight that Dan Hooker could win before I put my money on the line. How do you feel about those types of live bet spots?
Love them. The books have been overcompensating, and you can grab some of these underdogs at insane numbers. Like
I missed Gerald
insane.
I missed the 10-1 mirror chart.
I got him at 12.
Oh my God. Dude, I even said it on the show. I was like, look, if he goes for broke and he doesn't get it, you dive on Gerald Mearshart. And I'm sitting there with my finger over the button. And then it looked like Edmund was going to camp out on top of him. And I was like, oh, did he just actually high fight IQ? And Edmund Shabazian is finally going to finish a fight the way you're supposed to? No, I hesitated for 2 seconds. It was gone. He got tapped. It was over.
These live lines have it's kind of been an evolution over the last year of what live lines. What they're doing is they're making you pay a really, really big premium on the favorites. But on the flip side, if this fight is close and it's going to these judges, you get wonky judging and you're getting massive, massive numbers on some of these fighters that opened up as dogs, and then you're getting 10-1, 12-1, 15-1. You kind of have to play. You kind of have to play them all, and just say, you know what? I think I'm going to play like 3 of these. If it looks like it's going to be close, and I'm going to get them all at 10-1, 15-1, 20-1, and all I need to do is hit one of them. So you do have to commit to saying I'm going to play all of them, and this would be a classic one. If Amorim looks great in the first round, but Demopoulos has the energy, that's an automatic fire away, because if Amorim does look like she won the first round, you're going to get your 10-1. You're going to get your 15-1. So, yeah, live play in this fight, I could absolutely see.
That's fair. And, guys, I know, let me just switch hats here for this one. I might pull out the old round 3 TKO on Vanessa Demopoulos. I know she's not much of a finisher. She's only got 1 KO on her record. But if there was ever a spot where she was going to KO somebody in the UFC, this would be it. An exhausted, mentally beaten and broken jiu-jitsu fighter who lays on her back and is looking for the door in round 3. That's when Vanessa Demopoulos will knock somebody out. You go back to the Ducote fight. She had her lumped up and bloody. Like, she's got some heat. Those little muscle monster arms that she throws around, she actually can put some force behind those things. So I may play just a little taste of some of those late round or the TKO props for Vanessa Demopoulos, our favorite little monster. All right, guys, we have got 570 live viewers. Thank you all so much for being here. This is Andy Lang from Wager Talk. Make sure you check the guy out. Support him online as well. Hit the like button, share the show out for me, and we're going to get into the next one here for you right away. This is Gabriel Santos, and he's taking on Yizha. Now, we've got a couple of spots, Andy, this week where I am going to be tested. I'm going to be tested because I am well documented. I am on record saying that I just do not believe in these road to the UFC guys. And there's a couple of them this week. You too?
My man.
Let's go.
My man.
Let's go.
Man. As soon as I get you on board with fading these Uriah Faber A1 combat guys in the Contender Series, they're 0-3. Yes, fade the road to the UFC. Preach on.
I love it.
Talk to me.
They're just not ready. They're not fighting the same caliber competition. The UFC is trying desperately to break into the Asian markets, China very specifically. And there's so few and far between these guys that have the athletic ability, that have the skill level, that are ready. They're working on it. You give it 10 years and China will be a hotbed for MMA. They'll fit right in. It'll be fine. But right now, they just can't quite cut it. The majority of them, there's going to be a couple diamonds in the rough, and we'll talk about that. But most of them just can't hack it, and especially these road to the UFC guys. Yazzie comes to the UFC. I mean, he's got a wealth of experience at this point. He's 25-4, and he gets to the UFC, and they're like, nope, buddy, send you right back down a level. He lost the split decision to Jung Young Lee, a guy who so far has had kind of a bit of an up and down rocky run in the UFC himself. He's one of the potential diamond in the rough types, and he's still not quite hacking it in the UFC. So this kid goes on road to UFC again, puts together a 3-fight winning streak, and now he's back. They're giving him another crack at it. I have never been impressed with Yazzie. I mean, okay, I'm impressed with the cardio. I'm impressed with his ability to stick to people like glue. I mean, he is Asian Dylan Budka. This guy wants to press you up against the fence and just slow the fight down, and that's it. The amount of clinch elbows, though, that I've seen him take, and then he drops in for a double leg in desperation because shit, that hurt. This guy just doesn't have any defense in those areas, and all he wants to do is blanket you. And the UFC really hasn't been kind to those types of fighters for the most part in most situations, especially if they're facing a striker. If you guys want to give me shit for my previous breakdown, Budka's not fighting a striker. That's why that works. In this case, he's taking on Gabriel Santos. Gabriel Santos is a whole nother kettle of fish. This guy, 10-2, 27 years old, from Brazil. He is hell on wheels. This guy made his UFC debut against Lerone Murphy. I thought he was dead. Dead man walking. I'm huge on Lerone Murphy. Love the guy. I was holding my breath. My butthole has never been more puckered than that decision because it was a split decision. Lerone Murphy got the call. Thank God my parlay lives. But this guy fought tooth and nail. He hit Murphy with the kitchen sink. He was taking him down in round 3. I couldn't believe my eyes what this kid was doing on his UFC debut at that level. Now, he turns around, he fights David Onama, and we find out, okay, maybe he overperformed a little bit in his UFC debut. He fought well with David Onama, but the power difference was clear. The athleticism difference was clear. earlier, and we found out that Onama hits like a truck. I don't know that that's Gabriel Santos' fault. He's still plenty of a hot prospect, in my opinion, that we can probably still get behind him, I would think. Onama and Murphy are not bad losses to have at 27 years old. I think this kid still has a whole hell of a lot of upside. He can grapple, he can strike, he's got great kicks from the outside, his range management is good. I like his cardio. I mean, this is a spot where I think we're going to get a lot of grappling, and then every time we get into the clinch, Gabriel's going to be landing, whereas Yazi will be looking for more takedowns and maybe not getting them. I don't like this inflated price tag. That does worry me just a little bit. An 0-2 UFC guy fighting a road to UFC fighter at a damn near 3-1 price tag, minus 278 is what I'm seeing on Gabriel Santos. Andy, I hate favorite or pass. I much prefer dog or pass. I'm picking Santos. I think he wins the fight, but I'm not sure I'm a huge fan of the line.
Yeah, to me, I'm with you that we've been fading these road to UFC guys. Also the unders. These guys, when they get in the UFC, it's kill or be killed. And you're seeing a lot of them killed. So I think a lot of times in our space, we kind of overlook the totals on this one. To me, this is a clear fight does not go the distance. Somebody's getting finished in this one. If I was Gabriel Santos's corner, and unfortunately I'm not because I'm the self-proclaimed best cornerman that doesn't actually work in the UFC. One of the reasons why I love Fighting Nerds and Kyle Borrallo so much is they have just taken this bull by the horn and just said, we're just going to be the smartest team. Yeah. We're going to have the best strategy. We're going to have the best corner advice. And it just pains me to watch some of these fighters who have all the skills, and then you hear their cornerman talking to them between rounds. And you're like, what are you talking about? Like, you're a moron. If I was Gabriel Santos' coach, I would just have one piece of advice for him. Slow down. Against David Onama, way too overzealous trying to get the submissions, moving way too fast. Show a little patience. Let the fight come to you. Your striking is great. Your submissions are really on point, but not when you're moving too fast. I do worry about that with him. He was so excited in that Onama fight that it really cost him. And I thought if he would just slow down a little bit and work some more, I think he would have gotten the submission over Nami. Almost locked him up a couple times. I'm with you that it's Santos or nothing with this one. I do think the best value is this fight, not to go the distance. The ceiling is just not there on Yizha. It's just not there. Santos' ceiling is much, much higher. So if you're betting on upside, it's Santos all day. I would just really like to see him kind of casually work into the fight. Don't go guns a-blazing. Don't get so crazy, like stupid that you end up blowing some of these positions that you have. He was so worried about trying to get the submission that he blew his position and it cost him. And yes, it is. That's a rough start to your UFC career, Lauren Murphy. It's not as bad as Victoria Leonardo, who had Firo, Melissa Gatto, and Natalia Silva in 3 of her first 4 fights. Yeah. It's just like your career's over. Not
many people are going even 1-1 with those two guys to start your career.
No. So I agree with Santos. I think he is going to start off patient because, listen, the fact is he's 0-2 in UFC. He loses this one, you're in that dreaded 0-3 category. And now you're 1 loss away from really, really being in trouble. So it's Santos probably by finish, but really I would just take this fight to not go the distance.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I don't mind that call at all. So we're leaning favorite. We're leaning under. I like where we're sitting on that one. Next up, Andy, we have got Isaac Dulgarian. He's taking on Brandon Marotte. And I got to tell you, this is probably the spot where we can save the most time on the show tonight.
Yep.
Isaac Dulgarian is getting a low ball. Kid hit this one out of the park. We need another highlight reel. We need to remind everybody what you're capable of. And that's exactly what poor Brendan is being brought in to do. Now, if you guys are like, man, Isaac Dulgarian, I feel like I know that name. Why do I know that name? It's because my boy C-Rod busted your parlay the last time you tried to lay money on Isaac Dulgarian. He's a monster, Andy. I joke, I kid. I cashed a ticket with my boy C-Rod because he's one of the few people that could scramble and keep up with this guy and then make him pay for not being able to get that round 1 finish deeper in the fight. If Isaac Dulgarian had just taken his foot just slightly off the gas in that first round, controlled just a little bit more instead of trying to kill my guy C-Rod, he probably wins that fight. You know, he just needed a little bit more gas in the tank in round 3 to keep it from being a 10-8, and he probably walks away with a draw at worst, or most likely a win. He's going to learn that lesson. He learned it. He paid for it the hard way. Now he's coming back. This guy runs across the cage. He double legs people into the fence, drags them to the floor, and elbows them through the mat. Like, you can't stop him. He's a force of nature. I am so high on Isaac Dulgarian. It was just the perfect spot. The one time you're ever going to get a good spot to bet against him. Long gone. Now they're bringing in Brandon Moreau. This guy is from the New England cartel. And damn, this poor kid. We talked about tough starts, you know, a minute ago. They gave him Terrence McKinney in his debut. They were like, T-Rex, everybody loves this guy. He's fun. He's viral. Go fight him. 20 seconds. That's all he lasted. He couldn't even get started in that fight before he was already done. I don't think this one's going to go any better for him, unfortunately. Like, I really feel like the UFC has marked this kid as free money. He's going to be a roster booster. He's going to be, when you look up dunk in the dictionary, the guy who's getting stuffed on, that's poor Brandon. I fully believe that Isaac Dulgarian is going to come out, look like the Midwest Choppa yet again, drag this guy to the floor, elbow him to hell. Everyone will remember round 1 KO is going to be like minus 180. And what do you make of this one, Andy?
Yeah, no need to dive into this one. I mean, it's Dulgarian. I don't understand why they bring in some of these guys like Brandon Moreau. Like, it's like just to get highlight reels for some of the other guys. I guess they need to fill spots, and yeah, it's fun to have Terrence McKinney finally, you know, knock out somebody. But yeah, it's Dulgarian round 1. Yeah, there's no need to jump any more into it. There's no value anywhere in this fight. Anywhere.
Yeah. Man, there was a day when, you know, fighting in the UFC, it was the best of the best, right? You know, and I understand some guys need a little bit of time to grow, but they brought in like semi-good regional guys or like 34-year-old journeymen that, you know, get their crack at the UFC one time, sink or swim, see if you got it. Like, those days are gone. The UFC is like, no, we're going to bring in a couple of these softballs now. And it's probably good for business, you know, but at the same time, it's like, damn, dude, like I would much rather see Isaac Dulgarian fight somebody that we know he's not going to squash. He's an 18-1 favorite. Like, this is a bygone conclusion, and it'll be fun.
I mean, this is PFL prelims.
Yeah.
like this, that's kind of where you're getting there with this. I mean, this is also the UFC that let Mike Jackson have several fights, the photographer.
I can't figure it out. I can't, because sometimes it's like, yeah, you're a bum and we're not going to waste our time with you. And then other times it's guys like Mike Jackson, or God, I'm the biggest Sam Alvey fan on the planet. He hung around for way too long. Like, they let Sam Alvey have like 9 fights before they finally let him go. Like, it's just, I don't understand the decision making sometimes. I
felt like when they let Sam Alvey go, it was kind of like, we got a pay cut.
Yeah,
it's like darn it. there was 2 fights a year that was just guaranteed money. So I'm with you. I'm not really sure what the future holds for Brandon Moreau, but it is certainly not going to be a UFC title contender.
Yeah, Lock Day MMA is saying that the under 1.5 is like minus 300, which, I mean, frankly, guys, parlay piece. Like, I don't like 1.5, Sandy. I don't like under 1.5s because there's so many things that can go wrong that you can slip through to the second round, and then guys are tired. There's clinching. Next thing you know, it's over. This is round 1, guys. Like, I'm never the guy that is like, no, for sure, it's round 1. You can put it in a parlay. This one is that one. Like, Dulgarian's not letting this kid see round 2.
No way. No chance.
Yeah, he's gonna have a chip on his shoulder.
You've seen a couple. I will tell you, we've cashed on some of these in PFL. Some of these guys at PFL are bringing up kind of slow, where like Biagio Ali Walsh, Muhammad Ali's grandson. Word kind of came out that they need this guy to get more minutes. He can't keep going out and smashing guys in the first round. And you were getting just amazing money on like over 1.5. And sure enough, he would get close to finishing the guy and then like lean up a little bit. And then all of a sudden it goes the distance. But this is not one of those situations. Isaac Dulgarian does not need cage time.
That's the thing.
No reason.
Dulgarian did need cage time. He got it. My guy C-Rod gave it to him. He earned it. He got it the hard way. He's not coming out here looking for, hey, I need 10 more minutes of this shit. He's going to remind everybody what he normally does. Different
Absolutely.
situation.
Absolutely.
All right. Hey, shout out my guy Razor Sharp Picks in the chat. What's going on, Razor? Thank you for stopping by and joining the show, my buddy. If you guys don't know, Razor's one of the damn best cappers I know on the planet. I tail this guy left and freaking right. He makes me money when I lose money in MMA. He does a lot of stuff with baseball, especially football season. You guys want to check him out. He's awesome on Twitter. So give him a follow. Love the guy. Thanks for stopping by, Razor. Hope you're kicking ass today, buddy. All right. Next up, we have got OSP, Ovince Preux, and he's taking on Ryan Superman Spann. Oh, I feel like we've broken this fight down 3 times already. And Andy, not because it's been booked, but because it's another round 1 or bust fighter. Ryan Spann either wins in round 1 or he dies. Like there is the only in between was the one time that he tried to let the fight extend against my boy Anthony Smith. And guess what? He lost it. That may have been another questionable scorecard. It's very possible that Ryan Spann still should have won that fight. I've saved his reaction. The look on his face, he's like, hey, it's one of my favorite memes. I've got it on my phone. I saved it forever. It still, though, proves the point. Because if he doesn't finish you early, the man just falls apart. He is so big. Ryan Spann wouldn't look out of place at heavyweight. But he's so breakable. Those guys would have a heyday with him. They would throw him around the cage. His body, if you've ever played like a bad video game where the graphics mess up when your character dies and they go like launching in the air and their limbs are like, that's what would happen to Ryan Spann at heavyweight. So he's got to stay down here where he's got like the size and strength and bully advantage. I like Ryan Spann, and I've cashed on like his sub props at times. He hurts people with the hands, and then he's got that real tight squeeze, that guillotine choke that he really likes to go to. But damn, he's fallen on tough times here. 3 losses in a row, 2 of those by finish. One of them, my guy Bogdan Guskov doing the damn thing. Love to see it. But if he's not fighting someone who's incredibly breakable that he's just going to run over, he's in for a rough night. And he's a 3-1 favorite in this spot. Now, OSP, Ovince Preux might be the kind of guy that he can run through in the first round. The man is 41 years old. And Andy, it's real funny because I remember looking at this one and being like, damn, I remember OSP turned back the clock. Like he pulled a veteran performance. I'm going to be excited to look at this one. Maybe we've got a live dog. He really didn't turn back the clock. Like he fought Kennedy and Chukwu, and Kennedy did nothing. Like Kennedy didn't do a damn thing but stare at him and let OSP kind of lead the dance. I think Kennedy was worried about getting hurt. He's a little chinny, in his own right. So I think he was just looking to not get touched in that spot. So this is Fortis's second run at trying to take on OSP. They lost a split because Kennedy didn't do a damn thing. Totally different ballpark. Spann's only going to do the damn thing. He's going to come out hard and fast. And it's guillotine versus Von Preux choke. Like, if Ryan Spann jumps Gilly, OSP is going to hit the Von Preux choke on him. One of these guys is going to sleep. It's going to happen early. I don't trust OSP at this age. His last 2 wins were by split. One over Kennedy, one over Mauricio Shogun Hua, which I was at that fight live. My God, it was brutal watching that fight. And I actually thought Hua won it, for the record. Anybody else that's got any type of spark of life in them is knocking him out and icing him within seconds. Felipe Lins, a guy that I love to bet against, got him out of there in under a minute. Like OSP just don't got it no more. I really think this is another Ryan Spann round 1 spot, but dear God, you guys protect your bankroll. Don't shove all your chips in. I know it looks like it's easy for Ryan Spann, but this man is breakable. He's got no heart. He will fold in an instant if he doesn't get it done early. So minus 300 for this guy to win, not a chance. I'm picking Ryan Spann, but my money's going nowhere near a side on this one, Andy. What do you like here, man? What are you doing?
Well, I'd like to thank you for having me come on your show for the first time so we could break down OSP versus Ryan.
Oh my God, I know.
This is bad, man. This is really bad. For the record, we refer to the jump Gilly as the 4 Loco. It's like because it sounds like a great idea at first, but you regret it later.
I like it.
Listen, that win over. I don't know who was more surprised about. I actually think OSP was the most surprised that he won against Kennedy. Like the other thing that was kind of like strange about it, OSP landed 143 strikes. That is a ton from a guy who's in his 40s. After he won and they did the interview in the ring, it was pretty clear that I think everyone expected him to lose, including his corner, and that was going to be his retirement fight, because he even said, he like looked at his corner, he's like, "What do you think? We do another one?" And his corner was like, "I guess we won, so I guess we got to do one again." Yeah, it's terrifying to say that it's Spann or nothing. But here's another live line for you. If you want to live bet Vanessa Demopoulos, you might want to think really long and hard about fading Ryan Spann after that first round, man. I don't know what happened to Ryan Spann. I go back to that Reyes fight where he just threw all of us off the set. Remember what he said? He knocks out Reyes, and what does he say? I actually started training. They're like, what?
Yep.
You started training? Yeah, I normally don't do fight camps. And we're like, oh, man, all in on Ryan Spann. The guy's training. And then he loses.
First time in his life.
First time. It's like, maybe go back to not training. Losing to Guskov is just an absolutely horrific look, because I think Guskov sucks. I think he's terrible. A split decision loss.
Oh, how dare you.
Is terrible. He's awful. Awful.
No Guskov slander will be appreciated on this podcast.
Well, I can't wait to bet on Guskov, or bet against Guskov and his X-Men. The split decision to Smith, whatever. The Krylov, he gets. It's Ryan Spann in the first round, but I will tell you, I will be watching this live. I will have my live lines open, and if I see that man Ryan Spann start to slow down just a little bit, you best believe I will be happily grabbing a 12-1, 15-1 ticket on OSP. Pre-flop, no bets here. But don't be surprised if Ryan Spann blows it again. I can't put any. You cannot put any of your hard-earned money. We work too hard for our money to bet on Ryan Spann at this point,
gosh,
even if it is against OSP. So live betting opportunity, but that's about it for this one.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know if I can get there. I love a good greasy dog, Andy, and I don't even know if I can get there with broken ass old SP. One fight past his retirement fight, OSP. Like, I can't.
I swear they did not expect to win, and that was going to be his last fight, and then he beats Kennedy when Kennedy just absolutely pukes all over himself. Absolutely gross.
That was brutal. That was absolutely brutal. Oh, my God. All right, guys. We're going a little bit out of order. I do apologize. I misclicked and I skipped over one, so we definitely have one more fight we got to squeeze in here before the break. André, Lima, he takes on Felipe dos Santos, and we finally have a competitive line, Andy. We finally have a fight where it's not a minus 300, and we can talk about these sides and not feel like we don't respect ourselves in the morning by taking a look at these numbers here. André Lima, you guys, he wears the fun hat. He's got 2 wins in the UFC, one by split, one by bit. Oh, I need like a rim shot sound. I thought of that one. You guys have no idea how proud I am of myself for that one. I'm sorry, Andy. I bring you on this trash card and then I hit you with the dad jokes too.
All good, brother.
Oh, man. So I like this fight. It should be fun and high-paced. It should be action. Lima's 9-0. He loves his step-in elbows. That's like my favorite strike of his. He's real nasty and mean with those. He stands tall, good feints, good counters. He's very confident in his ground game, so he's willing to play down there too. I bet against him in his last fight when he fought Mitch Raposo. Mitch didn't do anything that I had scripted. You think you're a good corner man, Andy, but I'm a good head coach, okay? And I came up with a game plan for Mitch Raposo, and he just didn't stick to the game plan. There's nothing I can do. My fighter didn't follow the game plan. You got to go forward on Lima. You got to wear him down. You got to make him fight and have him have a high-paced matchup. I'm suspect that André Lima is gassy, man. You go back to the fight where he got bit and he got the disqualification win. He won round 1 very cleanly, and he started to fade. His opponent was taking over that fight. You could see it happening. And it was so weird that the guy bit him, because I was like, man, like, you're winning this fight. Like, if it keeps going this direction, you're going to win a 29-28 and be in the UFC. But instead he bites him, gets disqualified. And then Mitch decided to stay on the back foot and skip around the outside instead of coming forward and wrestling. Real weird. But again, my suspicions are left hanging out there that I kind of think André Lima can be had in the cardio department if you make him fight. Well, Felipe dos Santos is going to do that. This kid is 8-2. This is going to be a kicker's delight. Both these guys like to stay at range and kick, but Felipe is from shoot the box. He ain't messing around. He ain't slowing down. This guy knows one direction. It's forward. He dyed his hair blonde, and he's come all this way for a fight. He's going to go get it. He won a split decision against Victor Altamirano, and I can understand some people feel like that's maybe kind of a bad look. But guys, Victor's a gas machine. Like, that's the one thing that he's got going for him, is that he has gas for days. If you put that guy in a, Diaz style Pride, winner's the only one to walk out of the cage, no time limits, Altamirano's killing everybody on the roster. Like, that's just how he's built. So this kid couldn't find Altamirano the way he wanted to. Victor wasn't engaging with him. He was staying on the outside, making him, chase him down, missing with kicks. It's a different style of fight. Lima's going to stand in front of him, and they're going to trade. That's exactly the type of fight Felipe dos Santos needs. When he made his UFC debut against Manel Kape, he blew everybody's hair back. Much like the fight we talked about just a minute ago with Murphy, he looked so good in his UFC debut that everyone kind of sat up and went, whoa, he's fighting in the deep end, and he looks this good against the guy who's a title challenger. We got something here. Felipe dos Santos at 23 years old at shoot the box, I think, is just going to be getting better. I love his aggression. I love his power. I love that he threatens with submissions. He's going to have a 3-inch reach advantage here in this spot. And I just don't think Lima is going to have the grappling-based game plan that he needs to really get to this kid. Andy, I kind of think this line's backwards. It opened up at Pick'em, and it's been steamed all the way to Lima minus 180. I think that went the wrong way. I feel like people are really high right now on Lima, and he's had 2 very questionable fights so far in the UFC for him to be a minus 200. Dog money, man. I like it. I think I'm going to bet Felipe dos Santos. I'm not sure if it gets any higher than plus 150, so I might need to jump. But I like dos Santos in this spot, man. What about you?
I thought that I was going to be all cute and cheeky and pick dos Santos by plus money, and then everyone's going to be on Lima, and Clint's going to be on Lima, and then I'm going to come in with this hot little dos Santos thing. I agree.
Let's go.
Just
I think you and me are going to be sipping margaritas on the beach together. We're still on an island, Andy. It's just going to be 2 of us instead of alone.
I've seen the Lima hype, and you did a good job explaining, the cardio thing. I would also just say, winning because somebody bit you and then beating Mitch Raposo does not make you a minus 190 favorite. It just doesn't. It just doesn't. I already know where all the leg kicks. Oh, he torched the legs of Mitch Raposo. Hey, Mitch, check a leg kick. Just one. All you gotta do is check one of them, and he'll stop. I promise you. I didn't think that. I'm with you with Raposo. I thought Raposo had all the tools. He does have all the tools. He did have all the tools, and he just didn't
infuriating.
Didn't use any of them.
Here's there's guys that find a way to win. Mitch, unfortunately, is the guy who finds a way to lose.
Yeah, he's just not good. Here's the other thing I like about it's kind of a sneaky little thing here. André Lima is 9-0. He's not going to finish his career undefeated. He's just not. There is a loss coming, and I love that Felipe dos Santos is 8-1. He's tasted a loss, and it was against Manel Kape, a big-time fighter. I actually think Victor Altamirano is a little underrated. I thought that fight was actually a really good test for dos Santos because round 3 was tough. Altamirano just keeps coming forward, and dos Santos, even though it was a split decision, it was just kind of a different beast. It was like, this is going to test your cardio. Like, Altamirano is not going to, submit you or not, knock you out, but he is going to keep pushing forward, and he's going to test those lungs and how much energy you have in round 3. And I'm with you that Lima may look good at first in that first round, but the second that he isn't able to cardio his opponent in the second round, he's going to start falling apart. And the second that dos Santos is not going to stand there and eat those leg kicks like Mitch Raposo does, I think he's a little bit limited. I'm not really that impressed with his power. On Contender Series, he went to decision against Raposo. He goes to decision. He gets the win by biting. And then before that, he's in LFA and R1 and attack fight. If you're looking for underdogs, I think this is a really, really good spot. I also think that, this is going to be the tallest guy that Lima's fought. The reach is going to be a big advantage for dos Santos. Yeah, so there's going to be some pretty big Uphill battles for Lima at -190. There's no chance I'm betting on that. Felipe dos Santos at plus money is absolutely the way that you can play this one. And if you want to get even a little bit more cheeky, you could play Dos Santos by decision. I don't think that he's going to finish. He's not that big of a submission guy. And I think he's just going to use his cardio to wear down Lima. I see some clinch work and him wearing him down in the third round. Lima can gas, as we talked about. I don't think he's going to get finished, though. So if you really want to get even more plus money, you could go with Dos Santos by decision. But in the end, just take the dog money. Just take the dog.
You know, I don't hate the look. I mean, we haven't seen him really fighting for his life yet in round 3. So I would maybe, if the number's good, consider the round 3 sprinkle. But what do you make of, like, I don't know, the new gloves thing? Because it seems like, I don't know if it's matchmaking or if it's like the overall level of MMA rising or what it is. But ever since they introduced those new gloves, decisions are off the charts. There's just so many fewer finishes. Do you have any like theory as to what that is? Because I feel like we should be making bank just betting decision props until it stops.
It's one of the things that we love doing. I continue to say this, that in this industry, in this world, we do not look at the round props like enough. They're just sitting out there. You can grab these parlay pieces on these women's fights. I know it's not exciting to bet an over 2.5 at -250 on a women's fight, but when they're both standing there waiting for the decision, you're like, why didn't I just bet? Of course that was going the distance.
Yeah.
And yet the gloves, it's kind of undeniable. You pick your spots with them, and as long as you get two guys that are somewhat durable, it's really hard to get a knockout. So a lot of these fights, the knockout is kind of eliminated. So now you're looking at submissions, and I don't see Dos Santos or Lima getting any kind of like submission here. And the other thing with these new gloves is after round 1, a lot of times the knockout isn't in play because both guys just don't have that finishing power. So you got the gloves that have made a difference. You've got guys that just don't have the cardio in rounds 2 and 3. And then once they start getting sweaty, it's virtually impossible to lock up some of these submissions and finishes. So yeah, I've done well taking some of these UFC fights going over when you get the right spots.
I like it. Hey, the sharps in football bet unders, and MMA, the sharps bet overs, apparently these days. That's how it goes. My guy, Ethan, I got your comment there saved, buddy. We'll talk about that here in just a little bit. Good shout out here by Nichols Dos Santos plus 165. I did find that while Andy was talking. That is on MGM, guys. So if you do want better than the plus 150, MGM is hanging a plus 165 out there, and I believe that's market best at the moment. But I will tell you guys that there is a real quick and easy way to find whether or not that is market best. And that's my friends over at fightnumbers.com. If you guys haven't checked them out, their service is incredible. They've got a live odds board. You can find the best number on these fights anywhere on all the major books. And that's how you can solve that little problem that we were having there. We're trying to guess and look it up ourselves. Just come to Fight Numbers. This page, I believe, is actually one of their freebies. So if you don't want to sign up and make an account, whatever, like they've actually got some really great free tools. But if you do want to sign up, use promo code DieHard. Use the link in the description below. You'll get a discount. And then, of course, they've got pros picks. They've got, especially for like DFS betting and stuff like that, they've got simulators. It's a fantastic site. It's a great tool. One of the friends of the show, John Kelly, operates it. Pepe, who's regularly in the chat, one of the sharpest MMA bettors in the space. He's on here giving picks. Evan, they're all good. Real good group of guys. So definitely people you want to support and some awesome tools that can help you in your betting so that you make some extra money. Next up, guys, we have got the home of fight. You're here. You're here. This is the home of bets, home of fight. Sign up for the Telegram. Join the group. Worried he was going to hang it up, like be done, gone for good, maybe the way he was talking. I'm happy to see him back. It's been a long layoff for Albazi. That's a hell of a fun fight. But if you guys want news blast and you want to interact with other fans of the sport, there's no better place than either here in the Telegram or in the Home of Fight Discord. The other thing the Discord can do for you is if you guys ever want to see my picks, I know I do the hashtag diehard picks so you can find them easily, stuff like that. All my picks are in my channel on the diehard Discord. So join the Discord. It's free. Come hang out with us, talk fights, talk other sports, whatever. Follow, see what I'm betting. That way you can tail or fade, completely up to you. But you can find all my stuff in one easy place if you join up over there. Next up, we have got Spectation Sports. If you guys like regional shows, MMA action every single weekend, Spectation Sports is the best place to be. They're basically the competitor to UFC's Fight Pass. We know a lot of fighters now that are coming off of Spectation Sports. So if you want to go back to your tape study, do your research, even be prepared for the guys that are coming up to fight on Dana White's Contender Series, this is the place that you need to go. Promo code DieHard, the link in the description below. You'll get 20% off when you do your subscription here on Spectation Sports. We found Trevor Peak on here. I believe that Torrance Finney, I think, had a fight that was on there. We know several guys. We were just talking about Mitch Raposo. We have his fights here on Spectation Sports. So if you guys want to do your homework, your tape study, or if you just want more MMA action, you want to watch more fights, check out Spectation Sports. And, guys, I shouted out Razor before. I really should get him his own slide here, but I got to make you aware of something. I've shouted out my guy Nuke on Twitter. If you guys follow me, I post him regularly. The single sharpest, best gambler I've ever met in my life. The guy literally prints money year over year. And I don't say that lightly, you guys. I've never once tried to scam you or sell you something that isn't in your best interest. This guy makes me money. Okay. Football season's coming up. That's where he truly shines. And he's just recently started this website. So I'm helping out a friend. I'm shouting my guy out. And if you guys want to try out his service, he gave us promo code Clint, CLINT, which is actually going to give you a free week of his service. So if you guys want to check him out, give it a try, use promo code Clint, free week. They'll take care of you. They've got picks on absolutely everything. His NASCAR Sundays are unreal. They hit a 20-1 and a 10-1 just this past weekend. So if you like live shows, if you like live betting, their companion streams, they're live constantly. Football Sunday, NASCAR, MMA fights. Check out Nuke the House. Use promo code Clint, sign up, get a free week, and then you guys tell me how you're doing after that. Last but certainly not least, you guys know the deal. Bet openly, peer-to-peer betting. You're never going to get limited. You're never going to get shadow banned. You won't have somebody knocking on your door telling you to hurry up. You got too much money in here. You can't bet that amount. You're only allowed to bet $1.60. It's peer-to-peer. You guys can put $10,000 on a single bet on here, and people all around the world can help take your action. I just lost a couple $100 on the first half of the college football game going on right now, but that action got booked. People are booking action left and right. We've seen massive numbers coming here. You guys want to be on Bet Openly. Over $7 billion for gamblers saved. You get better lines on absolutely everything. I show you guys this week in and week out. We've got better numbers. We've got Dana White's Contender Series. If you're in a place like California where you can't find books like FanDuel or DraftKings, Bet Openly works in those places. So it's a fantastic out. It's another option for you guys. Use the link in the description below and check it out. This really is kind of the wave of the future, I'll be honest with you. And we're right around the corner from football parlay hosting season, guys. It's my favorite. Okay. You can come here and look for open bets. Instead of making your own, you can find other bets that people have locked in, and the parlays are ridiculous. You can play the house. You can actually lay the wood for somebody who's putting together a parlay. And then when it loses, you can just scoop all the winnings for yourself. It's fun during football season. It's fun because you can always identify the one or two bed shitters in the parlay, and it's like shooting fish in a barrel. I can't wait. I'm so excited for football season to roll around so I can be the house and steal easy cash that way from some people. If you want to gamble, I'll put up the money. Let's go head to head, baby. It's also good if you want to actually go head to head with people. So fun way to keep people accountable. If somebody on Twitter says, hey, you're wrong, you're losing this one, bet. You can just send them a link. It's fantastic. All right, guys, we'll get back into the good stuff here. We got over 800 live viewers, and I'm joined by Andy Lang. We're talking UFC Vegas 97, and we got some more fights to get into. I see you, Ethan. Calm your tits. We're not there yet. Next fight up, we've got Zhurong, and he's taking on my man, Taco, Chris Padilla. I am so upset, Andy. I love Taco. To just have the fight name Taco, you're my kind of guy. That's the kind of guy I want to cheer for. I feel like we could hang out, have fun at the barbecue. He seems like a fun guy to be around. But we talked about bet against the road to UFC, guys, right? Zhurong ain't that guy. Andy, I really like Zhurong, and I've liked him since he first got to the UFC. He's 25-5. Tons of experience at just 24 years old. And unlike Yazzie, who we talked about a little bit earlier, this guy's well-rounded. This guy's got power in his hands. This guy can shoot a double leg. This guy can change the range up. This guy can fight moving backwards. He's got counter hooks that are fast and nasty. I like everything about Zhu Rong, and you can tell the UFC likes Zhu Rong too, because when they brought him in, he went 1-1, and they were like, you know what? Give him Bahamondes. Ignacio Bahamondes, a guy who they are pushing for Mexico right now, and they're like, we think Zhu Rong can get in there with this guy. And you know what? He fought really well against Ignacio. Now, in round 3, he got caught, he got put down, he got tapped out. It happened. But in round 2, he was landing counters on Ignacio Bahamondes and like lumped up the side of his head. It was a good fight. So they gave him a step back. They also sent him back down to the road to UFC. He's on a 4-fight win streak now. 3 of those 4 fights, Andy, are finishes. This kid is ready for the UFC. They gave him a little bit too much gas right out the gates, and they gave him a tough out, and they learned their lesson. They ain't doing that now. They're going to bring him along the right way, and they're giving him poor little old Taco. Now, Taco's 14-6. He's one of these regional scene fighters that, you know, I'm happy he got his crack. I'm happy he got his win. I'm absolutely happy that he, you know, got in the UFC, pulled a big old upset on James Yontop in his first fight, which, by the way, helped us cash a ticket on Slava fading Yontop in last UFC card. But he's a little older, 28 years old. Dan, my friend, he's from Chile. I apologize. Thank you for the correction. Latin America. I guess I should have been a little more broad with the way that I was talking about Ignacio.
He's not from here.
He's not. Yeah, no, I don't. I feel like I'm gonna get a target on my back for that one. Get off my lawn. So Taco is a fun fighter, man. He seems like he's decently well-rounded, but he's so explosive, Andy, that it works against him. You want the explosive guy. You want the guy that can hit the big overhand. You want the guy that can hit the blast double, but he can't hold anybody down. He wants to look for the grappling, but unless, like, you know, in the James Yontop fight, he took the back immediately and tapped him out. If he doesn't get that back transition, I've seen so many fights where he dumps people and they just stand up immediately. Like, he can't keep people down there. And he's not the best striker I've ever seen. He's serviceable. I guess that's the way I need to say it. I completely agree with this line. There are not many road to UFC fighters that I'm going to be betting on, but I will be finding a way to parlay up Zhu Rong this weekend. He's minus 285. And if this was like a more chalk heavy card for me, he would be on the short list for maybe like an anchor series of parlays, because I don't think he's losing this fight, Andy.
I agree with you. One of the best things about watching Dana White Contender Series, and we watch it, we do it, we watch live. We also take notes on every single person that wins a contract. Why? Because you need to know who you want to fade and who you want to bet on. James Yontop was number 1 on our list of guys to fade once he gets to the UFC. He's terrible. He's not good. Like, he's not okay. He's not mean. He's bad. So when Chris Padilla gets his chance to fight James Yontop, we have in our notes, fade away. And Padilla, listen, give him credit. He did what he was supposed to do. I think it was 3 times he pulled the exact same move, which was take him down, and then just like Yontop does the same get up move, and finally Padilla figures it out and is like, you know what? I can just grab this guy's neck and
just take it on.
just take that. Padilla's raw. Strike the schedule, not great. Justin James was his win before James Yontop. So, and then you got to dig deep into some of these other guys, and you know, losing to a guy named Darren Smith Jr. at UNF1, not great. Devin Brock at LXF5. Padilla's just raw. I thought it was a really good win for him, but I'm with you that this is a great spot to lay juice as a parlay piece. I really love the patience that Zhu has shown. He's got great cardio, and I think that's what his plan is going to be, is set up his shots, set up his game plan, take this into the later rounds, and use his experience. It's crazy to say he's 24, and yeah, he can use his experience. But, you know, Padilla's last 2 losses went the distance. He lost decisions. You look at his wins: round 1 against Yontop, round 2 against Justin James, round 3 submission against Minasan. So when it goes the distance, when it goes the decision, he just doesn't seem to do well. And Zhu's striking has been pretty good. I think it's going to be way too much for Padilla over 3 rounds. I don't think it's a finish. I don't think it's a finish spot because I've been really impressed with his patience. Zhu is just, you know what? I'm not going to get myself into trouble areas. I'm not going to get clipped. I'm not going to get taken down and possibly submitted. I think we've shown a lot of, or I think he's shown a lot of maturity for a guy. I like this second stint for him in UFC. I really really like him. I'm rooting for him. Yeah, the juice is stiff, but this is a card where there's a lot of parlay pieces. Zhu is not a bad parlay piece at all at this one. I think it's just going to be a kind of an eye-opening experience for Padilla, where we maybe look at Padilla and go, is this guy UFC caliber? Because technically the fight against Jan Top was in the UFC, but I'm not sure that's a UFC caliber fight. So I'm with you 100% on Zhu. It's a lot of juice to lay, but I'll lay it comfortably.
Love to hear it. Absolutely love to hear it. And you know what? I wouldn't actually be shocked at all by Zhu finishing this fight. Chris Padilla has had a little bit of a sketchy history with his submission defense, and he loves to go in for those big blast takedowns. You leave your neck open a lot of times in those, and Zhu is no stranger to snatching up a neck or two. I do think there's chance for a submission in this fight, especially once, if Zhu's kind of beating this guy up on the feet, a bit of a panic takedown, not the perfect setup type takedown. He could get caught in something. I wouldn't mind Zhu inside the distance by finish, and I think I'm calling like round 2 sub. That's what we'll say.
I like it. Zhu is just a great parlay piece on this one. I'm excited for him, and I'm rooting for him big time on this next run in UFC.
I agree. And man, we've all been beating the drum so hard on like fade the road to the UFC guys. I think a lot of people are going to try to fade Zhu this week. I think Taco's going to be a guy that people kind of buy the hype in his UFC debut, and they buy the fade, and they look to try to, upset the apple cart here in this spot. I think this is the one where you go, buddy, don't, not this one, not here. I'm never going to talk somebody out of what they think is a live dog. I'm all about, the plus money myself, but I don't think Taco is it this week, guys. All right.
I'll talk people out of betting live dogs on the wrong side. I'll try and do it all day.
See, the problem is I don't have a leg to stand on, Andy. Like, if I'm firing left and right on these mangy, foaming at the mouth dogs that need to be taken to the shelter and put down week in and week out. So I can't look at someone and just be like, no, not that dog, you imbecile. Like I can't pull it off. It's not in my DNA. I've got too many bad bets I've made myself.
All good, brother. I can't wait. I can't wait. This is the fight I've been really excited to get your take on.
I'm really excited about it too. And my guy Ethan in the chat can't wait here. Next up, we've got Trevor Peak. It is Trevor Peak fight week, people. Rejoice, violence fans. He's taking on Yanal Ashmouz, the Red Fox himself. And Andy, I'm torn. I am heartbroken. I can't believe they've done this to me. I hate it when they take both your guys and they're just like, there you go. I mean, I was one of the very few people that cashed a ticket on Yanal Ashmouz in his UFC debut. I have bet Sam Patterson and made money hand over fist with him since. I knew how good that kid was going to be. But I cashed a ticket on Ashmouz in his debut because I knew this guy was going to come, hell and hand grenades in round 1 and had a chance to catch him and put him out. Sure enough, that's exactly what he did. I'm looking to get on Trevor Peak. We discovered Trevor Peak. I talked to you guys about Spectation Sports. That's where we found this guy. I know all about him. His UFC debut, his Dana White's Contender Series. It was glorious getting the kind of number we got on Dana White's Contender Series to cash that ticket. This guy is fun. And the UFC loves him because he's just must-see TV every time he steps in the cage. He's 2-2 since he got here. Round 1 KO over the Ghost Pepper. And then he got shown the door by Chepe, which that's been the beginning of a very rocky relationship between me and Chepe Mariscal. He did get the win over Muhammad Yahya, a guy that really just kind of got brought in to be a fun fight. And then the Charlie Campbell fight. That was the one. His last fight against Charlie Campbell was the one that really kind of got my attention here, Andy. Charlie Campbell showed a level in that fight that I kind of wasn't ready for. I didn't realize how good that guy was if he stuck to a game plan. I've kind of only ever seen him throw that game plan out the window. I thought Trevor Peak was going to coax him into a brawl and then they were going to throw down, and that would be the path to victory there for Mr. Peak. But Charlie Campbell, to his credit, did a very good job of sticking to the game plan, staying on the outside, battering the legs, and just not engaging in that fight the way that Trevor Peek needed him to for him to be able to get a win there. And he still almost got finished in round 2. You go back and you run that fight again. Charlie Campbell fought 5 head, IQ off the charts, perfect game plan, stick to your guns, don't fuck up. And Trevor Peek still almost got him in the second round. This guy has stupid offensive capabilities. He hits hard. He's got incredible gas. He's got incredible cardio. He's a Dricus Duplessis type where he looks like he's exhausted. Don't matter. He's going to throw anyway. Like, that's the kind of guy we're dealing with here. And his durability is off the charts. The kind of shots that he eats and then just keeps coming forward and swings harder than you, it's unreal. He's built for fighting. The best part, Andy, is that he's now training with Dwayne Bang Ludwig. I talked about this in the last fight, and that was kind of the one thing that tilted me over the edge. I did pull the trigger. I pulled the trigger on Trevor fighting against Charlie Campbell because I went, you know what? If there's one man in this world, if I could look at Trevor Peek and go, how do I fix you? I would send him to Dwayne. You know, Dwayne built prime TJ Dillashaw from the ground up. And that guy was a motherfucker. Like, that, he was a monster, and Dwayne was responsible for building him. Trevor Peek has the type of raw tools that if he sticks with Dwayne, he could be a problem. He looks freakish right now. You know, the weird spinning things that he throws and the flailing and the tomahawk punches. And when Dwayne beats all of those out of him, he could be a real problem. And against Charlie Campbell, he showed a much more measured approach. Now, he did have those spurts where, like, he blitzed and he threw and he went a little wild, but it wasn't balls to the wall, 24/7, sprinting, trying desperately to get to your opponent. He checked a couple leg kicks. Like, he had a couple moments where he pulled and countered. Like, we saw a ever so slight new wrinkle to Trevor Peek's game, Andy. And he went back out with Dwayne for another fight camp. The longer he stays there, guys, the better he's going to get. Now, Yanal Ashmouz, he kind of has a similar Rocky situation, right? We talked about Sam Patterson, beat the brakes off of him early in round 1, got the win, did what he needed to do, and then he fought Chris Duncan. Now, Duncan is a guy, Andy, that I've had a tough situation with because I just kind of didn't buy him, and he's really shown levels. Like, he went out and started training at ATT and is just absorbed like a sponge. Like, the guy has already made such drastic improvements from what I thought he was capable of that I got to hold the L on that. I've been wrong on Chris Duncan. I thought Yanal Ashmouz would be able to kind of force the fight out of him as well. And when they hit, I thought Yanal Ashmouz would be the one hitting harder. And I believed Yanal Ashmouz was going to have the wrestling advantage. He trains with a bunch of Russian grapplers. I thought he would have the edge on the mat. He ended up getting taken down 3 times. Duncan also fought the perfect game plan, stayed at range. Yanal couldn't find him. You know, Yanal would swing a 3-piece combo in the pocket, and Duncan was just long gone. Never could even touch him in there. So both Peek and Yanal require car crashes. That's what we're getting this week, folks. Neither of these guys is taking a step backwards. So this really is just kind of a coin flippy type of fight to me, Andy. You can pick your poison here because these guys are going to bang it out until somebody falls. And it just comes down to who. I posted a poll on Twitter. The results, you know, I got 24 hours. We'll see what the final is tomorrow. But I just asked, can Yanal Ashmouz KO Trevor Peek? Because in my mind, that's kind of all this comes down to. Can Ashmouz put the lights out on Trevor Peek? Because if the answer is yes, then he's winning this fight. If the answer is no, then we've got a dogfight on our hands, and I'm only ever going to be on Trevor Peek in a dogfight. You got minus 120 on Trevor Peek, plus 100 on Yanal Ashmouz. I'm going to side with Bang, man. I think the longer Peek stays with Dwayne Bang Ludwig, I think the cardio, the skills, technically speaking, are going to get better. I know which guy the UFC likes more. I'm going to side with Trevor Peek on this fight. What do you like here, Andy? What are you doing here, man?
I think both these guys suck. I'm not impressed with either of them, and I think this fight goes the distance. That's my hot take on this one. Let's take a look at Mr. Trevor Peek here, and oh, how exciting he is. His last 3 fights have gone the distance. Charlie Campbell goes the Listen, Muhammad Yahya is one of the worst fighters I have seen in recent memory coming into the UFC. This man has been an absolute cash cow to fade. It didn't matter the price against Fernandez in the last one. You were just
that was so easy.
You were like, even when he fought Trevor Peek, I was like, I don't think Trevor Peek's that good, and Trevor Peek's going to beat this guy's brains in, and he couldn't even get him out of there. So let me take a look at Trevor Peek here, because I'm not a Trevor Peek guy, never have. So who does he beat on Contender Series? Malik Lewis. Malik Lewis has the distinction of losing twice on Contender Series to Trevor Peek. And you know who else he lost to? James Yontop. He lost. It's awful. So then he fights Eric Gonzalez. Eric Gonzalez, welcome to the UFC. He's lost to Jim Miller, Terrence McKinney, and Trevor Peek. He's not that good. Loses to Chepe Mariscal. Mariscal beat him up. Mariscal put on a veteran performance, and then he beats Muhammad Yahya. Can't even get him out of there. And Charlie Campbell's Contender Series fight was wild, because he was beating Chris Duncan within an inch of his life, and Duncan lands this Hail Mary 1 in a million, just bang, absolutely drills him with one shot. I just don't think Trevor Peek is that good. So now we go to Ashmouz. Listen, I lost money on Sam Patterson in that fight. It was the knockout from hell. That was one hellacious knockout. But before that, he goes to decision against Dennis Hughes on PFL Challenger Series, and then he goes to decision against Chris Duncan. Neither one of these guys have been finished. They're both tough. I'm just not impressed with their skills. I don't think they show anything sexy, new. They both have these big bursts of energy with strikes, and then they stand there because they got to get their energy back. So you see these big flurries, and then big moments where they're not really doing much. We talked about the new gloves. And how many times have we seen this where oh man, Abus Magomedov is fighting somebody. This is going to easily go under. And then
no chance
it's going over. And then of course they go to the distance. I think you're going to get great money on this fight to go the distance. I don't think either one of these guys get knocked out. I don't think their striking is all that good. It's a barroom brawl, which could be fun. But as far as betting wise, I don't want any part of the side. Not impressed with either one of these guys. And don't be surprised if everyone is picking knockout. Oh, someone's going to sleep. And then all of a sudden in the second round, you're like, there's no way this thing's ending. We're just going to distance, because these guys know what the other one's going to do. Their striking isn't unique. It's not coming from different angles. I'm going to be taking the over in this one.
Okay. Andy, I actually don't even mind that whatsoever, because I think the longer that someone like Peek is with Bang, he's going to go through that growing pain of advancing to the next level, and it's not going to come super easy and quick. And Ashmouz is very difficult to put away. The guy is built out of cast iron. So I think you'll take that slight little edge off of Peek. He'll be just a tad bit more technical, and neither of these guys can be killed. I like an over here. I don't mind the over in this spot whatsoever. If they screw up and they put it at 1.5, that's going to be a beautiful thing to look at.
Please give me 1.5. Oh,
that's what I'm saying.
Please give me 1.5 on that.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know if they're going to be dumb enough to put it at 1.5, but if they are, you guys should be ready to pounce, because this thing is probably going to get into round 3, and it probably goes the full distance, just because Peek can't be put down. And Yanal Ashmouz, I'm not sure he can either. Now, I think Peek can KO damn near any man alive, but it would still be a tall order for him to KO a guy like Yanal Ashmouz. And now we get to the good part, Andy. I don't know if you're aware of my guy, Ethan Hershey, but he's the sharpest chat member I think I've ever seen. The guy waits in the shadows, and then he pounces on me with these drinking bets. I don't hear from him for 2 or 3 weeks, and then he wants to bet with me, and what we bet is shots. Now, I don't want to really have my hard-earned money on this fight too much. Maybe I'll be talked into it to some Trevor Peek action by the end of the week. You guys know me. I'm a degenerate. I can't help myself. I probably will, but I will happily accept your bet here, Ethan, my friend. 2 fireball shots live on the stream next week. If Yanal Ashmouz goes ahead and wins this fight, you got to pony up and do a couple shots for me and post it up on Twitter. If my guy Trevor Peek goes ahead and gets the win, bet accepted. And Andy, I got to tell you, he's got like an 8-2 record against me. Like Ethan just whips my ass every time he challenges me to these damn things. I'm drinking on stream the next week. So here we go. We'll see what happens here on this one. My guy Uncle Weezy in the chat says 2.5 is over -130 at the moment.
I love it. I just love it. I really, really do. That's a great price on this one.
Beautiful. Thank you for the shout, Uncle Weezy. Stat Daddy himself, one of the best in the game. Appreciate you being here and coming to us with the info. That is awesome. Yeah, I like that 2.5. That might be a good way to look at this one. All right, guys, we're getting into the main card here for you on UFC Vegas 97. Matt Danger Schnell takes on Alessandro Costa. And I have been a long-time Matt Schnell fan, Andy. I do like Matt Schnell. I've been a fan of his. He's been a guy that you can make some coin on backing, but it's been a few years. This poor man, he's fallen apart at the seams. I can remember when he fought Brandon Royval, and it was just the easiest, freest payday of my life. I knew that Royval was going to cause absolute brutal chaos in that fight, and sure enough, he did. And he was a parlay piece for me that evening. It was gorgeous. And then we flipped around the next week and bet on Matt Schnell against Sumajiri. The biggest comeback maybe in UFC
Schnell
history.
In that fight?
I bet Schnell by sub in that fight, Andy.
I would have loved to have been in the same room with you.
I was losing my mind. I had already, it's a good thing I bet online because I would have torn the ticket up. It would have been in the trash. I'd have been spitting on it and like lighting the can on fire. It was done. It was over. This man was dead on his feet and somehow hits a takedown, drags Sue to the ground, and locks up a sub. Not only did I hit the money line, I hit the sub prop. I lost my shit. That was such a fun night. But I got to tell you, Andy, I've been about as zoned in on Matt Schnell as humanly possible. I have zigged exactly when I was supposed to. I bet Royval inside the distance. I bet Schnell by sub. I bet Nicolau by KO. And then I bet Steve Erceg. So, like, I have really taken advantage of this recent run here on Matt Schnell. The problem is the bookies have caught up because Alexandro Costa is now one of these gross, disgusting, plug your nose, -500 favorites in this spot. And I like me some Alessandro Costa. I really, really do. The kid looks like he's legit. He looks like he's got all the Brazilian juice flowing through his veins. He's got one of the biggest backs I've ever seen. The hooks that he throws, they are brutal, man. You get those big muscular backs, and it's good for one of two things. It's takedowns like Sean Brady in the main event, or hooks like Alexandro Costa, and they just have brutal power, whichever one they're designed for. And this kid can throw some heat. I think Alessandro Costa is going to knock Schnell out in this fight. I can't lay -500 on it because Costa's still a little bit unproven to me in this spot. 14-4. He's young-ish in his prime, 28 years old, 2-2 in his last 4. I mean, he got nuked by Romero Bazzi, but that fight went the distance. He had a pace put on him like nothing you've ever seen before. He went the full distance with Steve Erceg. A lot of people cashed in on Kai Kara France because the shot he landed actually on Steve Erceg, one that I thought was like, it was one good shot. So what? You know, I kind of let that one go. Damn Steve Erceg. But then he had really great fights, really good performances over Kevin Boras and Jimmy Flick. So that he's one of these guys, Andy, that falls right in the middle somewhere. You know what I mean? Like he's losing to these guys that are upper echelon, and he's beating these guys that are fragile and lower tier. So where is he really? I think he beats Matt Schnell, but -500 is just a little too much to ask. I am not so old that I can't remember Matt Schnell winning a decision against Tyson Nam by jabbing him to death. Andy, if this was in the big cage, if this was like a pay-per-view card, I would be tempted on Matt Schnell because his footwork on the outside, his boxing, he's got a really intelligent long jab. And the way he beat Tyson Nam that night was just countering him by sticking him faster. Every time Nam pulled the trigger, he just got popped in the face. That's it. The whole fight, 15 straight minutes of Matt Schnell moving so he was just out of range. And then the second Tyson Nam got close to him, jab. And that was it. That was the whole fight. He won the fight that way. He could do that against a guy like Alessandro Costa, but he's got to be perfect. He's got to be perfect for 15 straight minutes. This kid is not allowed to land a punch on Matt Schnell because if he touches him, he'll die. So I think it's going to be Costa by KO, but I can't get to the number here. Talk to me about this fight, man. What do you like?
You said a couple of interesting things that I want to unpack here. You talked about how you had a great read on Schnell. I think this is one of the really, really important things that bettors should really latch onto. If you have a great read on a fighter, milk it. Absolutely milk it. I will tell you the
advice.
I won money on Caio Borralho's first Contender Series fight. A lot of people don't even realize he had two of them. He got a first one, and Dana White looked him in the face and said, "You didn't finish that fight. You're not getting a contract." And Borralho, the look on his face, I was like, "Oh my, Borralho is going to murder the guy in the next fight." And they brought him back 2 weeks later, and Borralho absolutely killed him. And I've bet on him every single fight because you just know these fighters inside and out. So if you're out there and you just know that you have a great read on a fighter, don't hesitate to really, really milk it. And it goes both ways. If you know a fighter good and he's got a bad matchup and you know this is the time to fade him, bet against him. So I appreciate that you've had a great read on Schnell. Schnell's chin is done. It's been done for a while. I mean, this guy got knocked out by Pantoja back in 2019. That win against Tyson Nam, that was a split decision win. And I will just point out that Tyson Nam is fighting in Destiny MMA against a guy that was 15-30. He did that in July. And before that, he was on Front Street Fights 28. I don't know what 1 through 27 was like, but I imagine it probably wasn't as good as 28. Sumaderji was fighting on a torn ACL. We learned that after the fight. So even though Schnell does get the win, he was absolutely cooked and kind of gets the nod. I rank Alessandro Costa higher than middle of the road. Amira Balzi in your UFC debuts, that's a brutal one. That's a brutal one. And he made it to round 3. I'll give him credit for that.
And it was the uppercut from hell too. It wasn't even like it was some he didn't get jabbed and fell over. He didn't die of cardio. That uppercut was like the Marge Simpson.
Yeah, you're right. I do love I love when these guys come in short notice to save a fight. And then the next fight, they give him someone like Jimmy Flick. That was one of the bigger bets I have made in the last few years was Costa over Flick. And then they give him Steve Erceg. And then they give him Borjas. I've been down on Borjas. Definitely been down on Jimmy Flick. Poor Jimmy. Jimmy Flick falls in the category of you want to fade these fighters when they've got some rough stuff happening outside of their fighting life. And Jimmy Flick's been struggling with some demons. Wish him all the best, but this is a business and we're here to make money. I think Costa is on the way up. I love his skill set. He's very strong. He's very powerful. I love his stance. I love his technique. The moment wasn't too big for him against Erceg. He went the distance against Erceg. The moment wasn't too big against Albazi. He's got a couple wins under his belt. I like his aggressiveness, and the only way you can play this is Costa. Why do you think the price? Let me ask you. Why do you think the price is too big? Is too big? Why do you say that on this particular fight?
Just because it's that gross line where it's almost out of parlay range, right? So I'm looking at Rongzhu and Alessandro Costa, for example, and I guess it's not that. It's minus 165. That's not as bad as I thought. I kind of thought that it was going to come in. If I get a parlay, Andy, I want it to be under minus 180. If I'm going to chalk up on something, I got to feel real good about it, and I want some decent return on it. Now, like we talked about, some of these lines are just I hate the L word, but they're straight up locks. Angela Hill and in her fight last week, over 2.5.
Lock.
I didn't sweat the fight for 1 second, and I locked it into a parlay, and that leg was done. That was it. It was over. And I got somewhere in the ballpark of minus 140 on that parlay. It was free. There are lines like that in MMA, and I got to get better at taking advantage of that low hanging fruit. And I kind of thought that this parlay would come out to be minus 210, two chalky favorites with, minus 600 plus type of lines. So it's not as bad as I thought, I guess. You could make a two-legger parlay here with one of these minus 200-ish guys and get a decent playable line. Costa, again, by KO is more likely the outcome. That number is probably going to be minus 150. Like, that might be okay. I hate laying chalk on props. I like getting plus numbers on props. But yeah, he's just got to have the touch of death once on Schnell, and it'll be done.
Yeah, the reason I bring it up is I think at least our theory with handling bankrolls is we look at it like a retirement or a stock portfolio, and you're looking at your returns long term. You're not necessarily looking at this particular fight. Like, if I were to go to my financial advisor and I would be like, "Hey, what do you think is a good yearly return?" And he would be like, "I don't know, 7, 8, maybe 9%, maybe 10% if the stock market's killing it." And I say, I can get that in one fight on Costa over Schnell. Like, what's Schnell's path to victory? He's going to take Costa down and submit him? Are you serious? Have you seen Costa's strength? And how is Schnell getting him down? He's not. One touch on Schnell's chin, and he's done. We've seen this. I just look at some of this low-hanging fruit, and I just don't think we take advantage of it enough. Like, my bankroll, my job is to make money, and I'm perfectly fine with trying to lay juice and trying to find another parlay piece on someone like Costa, who's got the death touch, who has knocked out guys before, and now he gets the chinniest guy he's ever fought. Like, literally one shot, and Schnell is absolutely done over with. He was within an inch of losing to Sumaderji, and I know it's like, it's chalky, but that's not the sexy pick. It's a business. We're here to make money, and the low-hanging fruit pays dividends long-term. So I don't find this fight expensive at all. Now, the Dulgarian at minus 1,800, that's ridiculous.
Wow, that's unbettable.
That's unbettable, but this one, I can make this one work. I can add money to the bankroll by coming up with this one. So yeah, I will absolutely be figuring out a way to make money on Costa on this one.
Okay, fair enough. And yeah, maybe I was a little bit too harsh. We might be able to add him to a parlay. You know, I wasn't planning on doing an anchor this week, Andy, but you've already uttered the word a couple of different times. Maybe we do a mini. Maybe we do a mini anchor this week because I do like a couple of favorites. I like Rongzhu. I want to have some money on him. We could link a couple of these together and probably do okay this week.
This is I don't like the anchor plays. I don't want to put Costa with a bunch of different plays. Just I'll play him once. That's all I need. I hear you. I need to play him once. So
high risk, high reward for the anchor, baby. That's what it's all about. You gotta be bulletproof. You gotta be sure if you're doing the anchor. And that's why it wouldn't be Costa. It would be Zhu that would be the anchor. Costa would be one of the other legs.
Okay. I'm with you.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. Padilla's no good.
That's the thing. I think Zhu Rong is anchor worthy this week, but that's where I'm anchoring 4 or 5 things to the same fighter. You know what I mean? Costa would be one of the other legs, not the anchor himself. We'll see. Haven't decided yet. All right. Next fight up, you guys. We've got Kyle the Monster Nelson. He takes on Steve Garcia. And Kyle Nelson, he can't keep getting away with it. Andy, I have tried. Oh my God. We talk about fighters that we've got a good read on. I thought I had a good read on Kyle Nelson. The man is 3-3 in his last 6. I circled this man as the biggest fade of all time, and we got it done with Billy Q, and we got it done with Jai Herbert, and we had a little butthole pucker moment with Du Ho Choi, and we got out of there with our money. That was a draw, but there's no way Blake Builder's going to lose to this guy. There's no way Fernando Padilla is going to lose to this guy. My cardio machine, my boy Bill Algeo. There's no way oh my God. I am 0-3. I'm on a bad run right now. And Kyle Nelson is my high school bully. He's shoving me in lockers. He's taking my lunch money. I cannot get one over on this man right now. And for some reason, every time they match him up, I just still don't believe it. I'm like, he's won 3 fights in a row. And I'm like, nope, not this one. It ain't going to be this one. I am so like, if I lose money trying to fade Kyle Nelson one more time, I'm going to lose my shit. I got to come up with a punishment for myself and film it and put it on the internet to make sure I never do it ever again if I were to do it. But I want to bet Steve Garcia so badly. Steve Garcia is so big. Like he's a monster, man. We talk about the guys with those big backs. He's just got a huge frame for this weight class. I actually bet Sungwoo Choi in Steve Garcia's last fight because I thought he was the cleaner striker. And I stick to that. I do believe he's the more technical striker. I do think he's the cleaner striker. But Steve Garcia is a force of nature, man. At the end of the day, it did not matter. Once Choi touched Garcia and Garcia went, ow, you flip the switch. He goes into monster mode. You know, there's people, the guy, the bro that thinks he can take on UFC fighters. There's a bro, I see red. I see red when I fight. I could beat Demetrius Johnson.
That's your blood coming down.
Exactly.
That's why he's seeing red.
But that's Steve Garcia. Like, this guy legitimately sees red, and as soon as it's go time, I have yet to find a man that can stand in front of him and not melt. Like, this guy hits so freaking hard, and holy shit. Yeah, my guy Dan Levy in the chat. Kyle Nelson went from a round one or bust guy to a play it safe guy, not the transformation you see every day. I couldn't have said it better myself. And somehow playing it safe is winning. Like, I keep thinking the judges are going to rob him for his clinching cage control for being boring, and they keep giving it to him. I don't understand. I don't think he's strong enough to muscle Steve Garcia around the cage and burn the time. If they bang it out, Steve Garcia is the one who's going to win the firefight. Now, I have said every single time I've broken down a Steve Garcia fight, Andy, he's chinny. He gets hurt every single time. You look at his record, somehow he's only got one KO loss. Like, he just never goes all the way out. Someday that bill is going to come due, and I'm afraid to bet on him because every time I'm going, shit, am I betting the chinny guy? Like, I don't want to bet the chinny guy, so I'm trying not to lose money on Steve Garcia's busted chin. I think he beats Kyle Nelson. He's not going to give Kyle a moment to breathe, but Kyle is, in fact, a round one fighter in his heart, in his soul. If he gets back to his roots, he's a round one guy. And if he cracks Steve Garcia in the first because they're just throwing down and nobody's saving any cardio for round two, Kyle Nelson could knock out Steve Garcia, guys. It really could happen. And I would just cry in my pillow if I had money on Steve Garcia when that happened. There's a reason this line is competitive. You know, Steve Garcia is not even a $2 favorite in this spot. It's because Kyle Nelson has turned over a new leaf and he's actually got a shot in this fight. Andy, I'm picking Steve Garcia. I think it's going to be Steve by, probably round one KO when these guys decide to bite down and go for it. Oh, can you give me faith? Like, can you give me a reason? Help me get to the window on Steve Garcia if you're agreeing with me. What do you like here? How do you see this fight playing out, man?
I am going to help you get to the window because we talked about fighters that we've had good reads on.
Yes, sir.
I've been money on Steve Garcia.
Oh, let's go.
We started back in 2021 where we took him to win on Ontiveros, and he ground and pounds his way out. Against Machate, we didn't take Garcia. We just took the fight to not go the distance.
Beautiful.
Machate. We've taken him by knockout in his next 4 fights, and he's won by knockout.
Wow.
Steve Garcia's last 8 wins are by knockout. I am not going. What's the meme from Nothing Stops This Train? What's the meme from Breaking Bad? Nothing stops this train, the Steve Garcia knockout. You play it until it stops winning. Steve Garcia has found this power that is putting kind of legit guys out. Like, he's not exactly knocking out tomato cans here. Like Chase Hooper, that's a win, a knockout that's kind of aging pretty good. Nurdenbeke, kind of aging pretty good. Milky Costa, I'm kind of high on Milky Costa. I think he's
I'm low-key high on Milky Costa as well.
And then Sungwoo Choi knocks him out. Kyle Nelson, I mentioned earlier to Demopoulos about like someone's luck is running out. Kyle Nelson's luck is running out. Give me a break. Blake Builder went out and fought one of the dumbest IQ fights I have seen. Blake Builder did absolutely nothing and pretended like he was winning, and his corner was telling him he was winning, when he in fact was not winning. This is what drives me nuts about dumb corners. I went back and watched the Fernando Padilla. Clint, I watched that fight 3 times. I do not know how Kyle Nelson convinced the judges to win that. Everyone
I was floored.
He did not win that fight, so he got lucky with there. He rocks Bill Algeo. Guess who else rocks Bill Algeo? Everyone that fights at least touches his chin once, except Kyle Nelson gets the ref that jumps in and stops it. These are 3, I don't want to say lucky wins, but let's just say Kyle Nelson has been fortunate. Yeah, Steve Garcia can get cracked. Guess what? When Steve Garcia gets cracked, it kind of wakes him up a little bit.
Yeah.
I think Kyle Nelson is going to try and push forward and push Garcia against the fence. I'm calling it right now. Steve Garcia with a wicked body shot that folds Kyle Nelson up into ground and pound. I think that's Garcia. I think that's I'm going that specific because I've been that high on Steve Garcia. I think Kyle Nelson tries to close the distance. I don't think it goes well for him. His luck runs out here. It's Garcia by knockout again.
I like it. All right, Andy, you got me. We'll find a way to get in on Steve Garcia because my soul is screaming for it. And you know what? I somehow bet Sung Woo Choi last time after leaning. I did the switch up. You know what I mean? Where like I talk about it initially and I'm like, I really think Steve Garcia just monsters his way again. And then I was like, nah, but Choi's so slick. Choi's so smooth. You know, I talked my way into getting on the wrong side there, and I got to quit that shit. So I'm going to go ahead and have faith in you here. I think you're right, and I need to just bite down on my mouthpiece and swing an overhand at the bookie. I have been robbed on Kyle Nelson more times than I can count. I need to just stick to the plan. Father's plan, you know, stick to it because it'll work.
I have to tell you, you're talking about like the UFC fighters. I have a friend who he has this theory that he's a lunatic. We all have that lunatic friend. He's like, I think that UFC fighters or like, you know, fighters, boxers, whatever, should have to wear like a bandana or something in public because what if they look at your girlfriend or your wife wrong and you want to fight them? And he gave this theory to us. And we were like, so you want fighters to wear a bandana so you know not to fight them if they look at your wife wrong? And he's like, yeah, I don't think that's fair. I think they should have to identify themselves. I
get it.
No, why are you fighting someone that looks
no, so actually it's really funny, Andy, because from my jiu-jitsu days, I've got a similar situation where a buddy of mine, he is a guy that he looks like the fat funny friend. Like, you know what I mean? He's the guy in the group that everyone's cracking jokes, we're all drinking, smiling, having a good time. He was one of the highest graded belts in the gym that I was training at, and a complete badass. Like, he'll separate your shoulder while cracking a knock-knock joke. He just delighted in being able to massacre people. And I just don't understand how his body moved. You know what I mean? Like, he's so like little roly-poly. And then the next thing you know, he's got your back and it's too tight to breathe. It made no sense. It made no sense whatsoever. But I went out bar hopping with this guy one time. And he had a similar situation happen because he's having a good time. He doesn't give a fuck what anybody else thinks. He cracks a joke. Dude at the bar felt like fighting and took it the wrong way and came over and started talking to him. And he is like, got a beer. He puts it down and he looks the guy in the face. And it was that sudden switch from we're having fun to we are very serious. And I've never seen that look in his eye before. But he looks at this guy who's about twice his size in his face. And he puts his hand on his shoulder. And the big guy move. You know what I mean? When you're like, little dog, you don't want this. He's reaching up to the guy's shoulder.
Tell him you don't want this.
And he goes, look, let me buy you a beer and let's play some pool. Or we can go out back and I will drive your face through the cement and the hospital can pick you up. Which would you prefer? And I've never seen a big guy shrink so fast. I mean, it was a moment where he's looking down at this guy, the confusion, and then the, oh shit, he's not kidding. Like, it was like, it was a moment where this guy went, I don't want to fight this little son of a bitch. And I was like, I swear, I'm like clapping because in the back I'm going, no, you don't. He's thrown me 10 feet and tapped me out before. He will actually do that and you'll die.
Yeah, like if you get in a fight with somebody in the bar and the first thing they throw is a vicious leg kick, you're done.
Back up.
You know what? Back up. You lost.
Limp your way out of there. Oh my goodness. That's funny. Oh, okay. Everybody do jujitsu. Do jujitsu. I promise you. There's no better safety blanket than knowing what you're doing on the ground. All right, guys. We got 2 more fights for you. We got 2 more to talk about here. Jessica Andrade. She takes on Natalia Silva in your co-main event. And I know people hate their women's MMA these days, Andy. They get all fussy about it.
Why? I don't get it. I enjoy the women's fights sometimes a lot more
They're great.
than the men's fights. I don't understand the dislike. It's one of the things that really bothers me in this space. I don't get it. But obviously these women are going to deliver. But I just had to say, if you're that guy, the women's fight, like, come on, grow up. Anyway, go ahead.
No, but man, this is the one though where you tell that mouth breather to sit down and shut up, because this is a banger. There's no way this fight doesn't deliver. Jessica Andrade, she's hit her midlife crisis, and right before the podcast, something got posted up. She's like suing her ex-coach for like $2 million worth of extortion or something. I mean, she went on the Mackenzie Dern divorce track
divorce fight
where the UFC was like, oh, you need money, we'll book you every 3 weeks, and she just fought everybody. She seems to enjoy that. She is what she is at 32 years old. She's been champion before already. She doesn't have to cut weight, and she's just willing to bet that in a dog fight she'll break you rather than you breaking her. And more often than not, Andy, she's right. She's fallen on a bit of tough times when she faces the upper echelon, Tatiana Suarez, Erin Blanchfield. The submission defense, she's not going to jiu-jitsu classes these days. She's not going to her jiu-jitsu classes anymore. She just hits the heavy bag, steps in there, Bob Sapp style. She'll give it her best go at it, and you either fall over or you don't. The one that really bugged me, though, was the Yan Jianan fight. You go back and you watch that one. She gets hit with the cleanest counter shot. She goes down on her back. And don't get me wrong, she got hit hard. She is hurt. The ref dives in and tries to save her. Her eyes are clear. She looks at him. And it's one of those ones where she's okay because she doesn't move a muscle. Guys, people, when they're rocked, when they're coming out of it, they're doing, there's that little video game standing still motion where you got to move just a little bit. Their body's not quite there. She was all the way there. Her eyes are clear. She's looking at the ref like, you okay there? She got hurt, but that was an early stoppage. I didn't like that one. Now, that's kind of my point in this fight, is that she's very difficult to knock out. Even though she's got 5 KO losses on her record, the only ones in the UFC recently have been the Yan fight, which again, I feel was a bit early, the crucifix from Valentina Shevchenko, where it's just, what are you going to do there? There's nowhere really for you to go. And then she got hit with a knee from hell to the body against Zhang Weili. I still think she's safe enough to say that she's durable enough. She's tough to KO. Submissions, maybe not so much. She can be caught with subs, and the better submission artists, especially at the higher weight class, they've been giving her some real problems. But she attacks the body. She bites down on the mouthpiece. She wings those big killer hooks. She's coming off a split decision win over Marina Rodriguez, a fight that, frankly, Andy, I thought she was going to run away with. The fact that was a close fight, the fact that was a split decision, kind of had me a little disappointed in the current version of Jessica Andrade. But she showed she still got it when she nuked Mackenzie Dern. So we can't really question the power or the ability. It's still there. But Natalia Silva is my girl. 27 years old. And man, she's just got it all. This is a girl. She's a good Christian girl. Okay. She's got very, very prim and proper outlook. She's always in a great mood. She's got a great smile on her. This is the girl you want to take home to meet mom. And then she takes off the fight kit, and you see the bulging neck muscles, and you see the veins, and dear God, the abs. She's an absolute monster. Natalia Silva is the definition of get you a woman who can do both. She is insanely in shape, and she is vicious in the cage. She fights at a very high pace, but it's measured. She always has a step up on her opponents. If she's got that GSP thing where if she can jab you to death, she will. She'll just never be in danger the whole fight. She'll take the path of least resistance to go ahead and get that win. The one that really opened my eyes, and I've been maybe the guy beating the drum. I've been the highest on Natalia Silva you can possibly get, and she still shocked me, was the Viviane Araújo fight, where it was what? This might be the fight where she hits a little bit of a speed bump. This might be the fight where she runs into a little bit of a problem. Her balance is insane. She's got 91% takedown defense after fighting a beast of a grappler like Vivi. And then, Andy, when she really decided to get going in that fight, she bit down on her mouthpiece and she hit Vivi with a hook that dropped her to a knee. Vivi's not someone you finish. And this girl had her seeing birdies, like flying around her head, seeing stars. Natalia Silva is an absolute beast. She's going to be 3 inches taller with a 3-inch reach advantage over Andrade. She's a natural at this weight class, where I still think Andrade probably should cut down to a weight class. This is a spot where I'm all in. I absolutely love my girl, Natalia Silva. I've been betting on her ever since she got to the UFC. You talk about the people you have those reads on. There was a day when bookies slipped up enough to offer us plus 200 on Natalia Silva against Jasmine Jasudavicius, Andy. I am not getting off the train. I will not get off the train until it loses. There's no point. We are riding Silva to the bank, and I like her in this spot. She's a big favorite. It's justified. Andrade is going to come out and throw haymakers. I don't think Natalia Silva is going to collapse under those haymakers. Andrade is not going to out-grapple her. Vivi couldn't do it, so she won't. And if they decide to bang, Silva can go power for power with Andrade. And while I don't think that's the best choice, she could if she needed to. If this turns into a gunfight, she's got that dog in her. I like her everywhere this fight goes, man. Give me Natalia Silva here.
I'm with you. I've made money on every single Natalia Silva fight. Been very high on her. Her against Teresa Bleda was a cash. Victoria Leonardo, come on. Andrea Lee, yeah, and you're right. Araujo was, kind of her biggest test. First off, can we agree that maybe Natalia Silva has the highest approval rating of any fighter? Like 100% approval. Who's like, you know who I can't stand? Natalia Silva. Like she has absolutely like no negativity.
How could you not love her?
You absolutely love her.
She's adorable.
All right, let's do it. I'll go head to head with you. Give me Andrade.
Oh, here we go.
First off, the price is laughable. Minus 300 against Jessica Andrade is really steep. Would you rather play Costa at minus 500 over Chinny Schnell, or minus 300 on Silva against Andrade, who's been there, done that, fought some of the best? Here's my take on Andrade. We may look at Andrade's 2023. It was the divorce tour, make no mistake about it.
Yeah.
Look at the lineup. Look who she fought. This isn't regional like Road to UFC guys where they're fighting 7 times in 1 year. She goes Lauren Murphy, Erin Blanchfield, Jan, Tatiana Suarez, and Mackenzie Dern in 1 year. That's like 3 years worth of fights. So she takes at least a little bit of time off. And I thought she had a pretty good performance against Rodriguez. I'm higher on Marina Rodriguez, I think, than most people are. I thought it was a pretty close fight. But here's what Andrade is going to do to Natalia Silva that Natalia Silva hasn't quite faced yet. She's not going to stop coming forward. Araujo came forward and clinched, but she held her up against the fence and didn't do anything with it. That's not what Andrade does. Andrade is going to be throwing and landing a lot of shots. The other thing that I think Natalia Silva is going to have to deal with is some leg kicks. I haven't seen many leg kicks landed on Natalia Silva, and Jessica Andrade is going to be able to land those. Natalia Silva is great on the her movement around the outside of the ring is fantastic. It's maybe the best in women's MMA. It's really, really hard to catch up to her. But I think Andrade is going to push through it. And I think there could be a takedown that changes around. I don't think you're going to be able to take Natalia Silva down several times, but I think Andrade can get one. And I want to see what Natalia Silva does if Andrade is on top and landing some ground and pound. I know Silva's got really good cardio. Maybe she has that advantage, but I think Andrade can turn this into a brawl. And that is something that some of Natalia Silva's opponents, I mean, you go down the list of Natalia Silva's opponents, they're not that great. Like Jasudavicius, that win is actually like aging pretty well. But Teresa Bleda, come on. Victoria Leonardo, come on. Andrea Lee, who's falling off a cliff. And Araujo, who, let's face it, has lost like 3 out of 4. I think this is a sneaky big step up in competition. And I think Andrade is going to put her in a dogfight. Would I love to see Silva and Andrade toe-to-toe in the middle of the octagon just going at it? Yes. Would I love to see Silva pass this test? Yes. But Natalia Silva is undefeated in the UFC. I don't think she ends her career undefeated in the UFC. I think this is a really, really good plus number at Andrade. I'll go head-to-head with you.
Okay. I like it, Andy. I like it. And, it's funny because I kind of thought that a little bit myself. And that's part of the reason why I mentioned that moment with Vivi Araujo where she dropped her, because that moment where she went, fuck this. Like, she got real tired of the whole situation being put on her back foot, and she started winging in the pocket, and she dropped her. And that was the moment that let me know. I was like, okay, so it doesn't have to be clean. Like, it doesn't have to be perfect. If she needs to go, she can go. I agree with you that this is a step up in competition for her. I think it's the right step up in competition for her. I think it's the next step up in competition for her. You know what I mean? So I totally understand. I absolutely have been there. I've rolled the dice on Jessica Andrade as a big dog. I think there are certain fighters that it's just never wrong. You know, we were talking about that before, right? I don't talk people out of plus money bets. Andrade is a fighter.
Sam Hughes
Yeah.
is just
Andrade and Sam, if you're like, bro, I think they're live this week. I'm like, okay, I'll let you take that shot. That's fine. So it's a little nerve-wracking because I've been right there with you. You know, I took the plunge on Jessica Andrade myself. So I get it. I'm just on this one. I'm on my girl. That's my train. That's my money train. I've been with her since the beginning. There's no getting off. So I'm going to stay with Silva on this one.
I would also say I like this fight to go the distance.
Yes.
Natalia Silva's last 2 fights have gone the distance, and Andrea Lee and Araujo, both of them are really tough. Andrade and Silva, that could be a pretty sneaky one. I don't know what the line is going to be on that one, but I think both of them are tough enough to survive. I think there's going to be some pretty good shots, but if Natalia Silva's not getting Araujo and Andrea Lee out of there, I don't think she's getting Andrade out of there. And I'm not really sure Andrade is, to the point where she can knock out Silva. So this would be another one. Take it to go the distance.
I actually think that's a nice way to buy the price tag down. If you're not looking to parlay or anything like that, you want to just have a solo spot on this one. Silva by decision is kind of what I was looking at on this one. I do kind of lean that way. Now, if I am going to end up doing my Zurong anchors, instead of playing any type of a proper messing around, I'll just get Natalia Silva money line in there. But I would predict decision most likely to be the way this one goes. Unless, I mean, the problem is with Andrade, if she comes out looking for a firefight from the first 30 seconds, there's no telling how that fight goes. It could be over in a hurry. So it's kind of contingent on how Andrade feels like playing this one. But if she comes out, hey, a little bit different. I had a full training camp. I put a little time in. We're not going to rush this one. Then, yeah, I think it pretty well can go all 15 minutes.
So, I will take Dixon Sider's bet. Silva in round 1. I'll take that.
And not only that, but he says
a lock. I appreciate the confidence. I don't think Silva knocks out Andrade.
Yeah, no kidding. I could see it. But I think it would be, round 2 or round 3, maybe, when she gets a little desperate over aggressive, not necessarily a 1, but we'll see. I mean, I think Silva's the side, man. Andy, do you do drinking bets? Do you want to put something on this one for a friendly wager, or what? Do you we're going head to head on it?
Absolutely. I'll do some shots with you. We got a few bets that we're going head to head on this one.
We'll figure it out at the end of the show then. We'll see what we want to do with those.
I'll come on and do a shoey. Sure. What's the worst that happens? Like drink out of a shoe?
See, the problem is I can't do shoeys because I only do shots. I can't drink beer. So I have to do shots. And I'm not going to pour Fireball in a boot.
Good. Please don't. If you just poured one shot in a boot, it just kind of sink into the soul.
I wouldn't even get anything. I'd be like turning it upside down.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right, guys.
That'll be a fun
one. Main event time. Let's get this done. Gilbert Burns. He takes on Sean Brady. And I got to tell you guys, this is just, life at its peak, Andy. I couldn't have asked for anything better. I have been the commissioner, the commander, the driver of the Burns train for years. 4 years ago, I photoshopped the picture of Burns' face on a train with like money bags coming out where the steam comes out of the chimney pipe on the train. I love Gilbert Burns, and I've been betting him forever. He is part of Home of Fight, guys. I in some way, shape, or form now work with Gilbert Burns. Make sure you guys check out the podcast that they do on the main channel with my guy Matty Betts, Money Moicano, and Gilbert Burns. But I couldn't be happier because I've been a fan of the guy for freaking ever, and now he's part of the same banner as me here. And you're not going to catch me dead trying to bet against the guy in this spot. I bucked the trend, Andy. I made my overlords upset because we got to ride or die with our guys, right? You got to not pick against your guys when you're in a situation like this. I picked Jack Della Maddalena. And that was right when the whole Homa fight thing was starting to come through and become a thing. I had already made my opinion clear. I had already told everybody, circle this on your calendars weeks in advance. Jack Della's winning this fight. And then I started on board with Homa fight. And I was like, like maybe
Awkward.
I shouldn't have gone so hard in the paint on that one. I did turn out to be right. I will say I did turn out to be right, but more often than not, you guys will find me on Gilbert Burns rather than against. He's 2-3 in his last 5 fights, and his losses were that absolute barn burner to Khamzat, the one that stole every inch of Khamzat's aura. The man hasn't come back the same ever since. And then he got dragged around the cage by our Lord and Savior champion, Bilal Muhammad. You can't knock him for either of those losses. In between, he made mincemeat out of Neil Magny in round 1. He beat Jorge Masvidal, and he was winning against Jack Della until he got caught in round 3. It was like a Hail Mary last-ditch effort, just banked on the button. Shit happens. It's MMA type of spot that he lost to Jack Della. So I honestly can justify pretty much everything on Burns' record in the last little bit. He's elite, man. He's an elite world-class grappler, a very strong wrestler, a world-class BJJ black belt who can tap out anybody on the floor, and he's got missiles in his hands. When this guy decides to throw down in the pocket and go, he hurts people. There's a lot to like about Gilbert Burns. And between you and me, Andy, I've just never been that high on Sean Brady. I know that's maybe insane. Again, I bet against the Philly guys. It just happens. I swear I didn't circle Renzo Gracie Philly on a map and go, fuck those guys. Like, it just naturally in my process, I tend to bet against those guys somehow. Sean Brady at 31 years old is a guy that I've never really quite been all the way in on. Now, Kelvin Gastelum, he ran through the dude. I bet against him with Bilal Muhammad. That aged like fine wine. And Andy, people throw the term fraud check around a little too lightly these days. But I really think Sean Brady got fraud checked against Bilal Muhammad because, yes, Bilal Muhammad is the best fighter in this weight class on planet Earth right now. He's got gold wrapped around his waist. I bet him to win the title at plus 250. It was a glorious moment. Nobody's higher on Bilal than me. So I can't say losing to him is a fraud check. But getting standing TKO'd against him is something that should not happen. That's concerning. I'm not sure if maybe Sean had something going on. Maybe he had a staph infection that we didn't know about, and that led to him having a very poor performance in that spot. But when you get cornered in the cage by Bilal Muhammad and you're just getting wailed on to the point that the ref thinks they need to save you, that's something that shouldn't be happening. If Bilal puts you on your ass and beats the brakes off you, okay, I could see that happening. Round 4, round 5, late TKO, sure. If he drags you around the cage and wins a decision, that's how Bilal wins. He shouldn't be standing TKOing you in round 2. So I'm kind of done with Sean Brady for the most part. And he's fought a lot of mid-tier competition. Chiesa, a guy that I'm not sure is even in the game these days anymore. Jake Matthews, he's just never gotten over the middle of the road hump type of guy. And this is a big, big step back up. So he fought Bilal, huge step up, failed. They give him Kelvin Gastelum, and he ran through Kelvin, to be fair. But Kelvin's never really been in the right weight class and has struggled with some grappling in the past. Can't get his weight under control. Also might have one foot out the door. There's a lot of things not to like about Kelvin Gastelum at this point. Gilbert Burns still has that delusional belief that he's number 1 in the world. And I say delusional in the MMA way, right? Not that he can't beat the champion on his best night, because he probably could, but like he truly believes he's still the best fighter on planet Earth. And that's what you need to be successful in MMA. I think Gilbert Burns has a little bit of a durability issue. Sean Brady ain't the guy to test that. Sean Brady's not the guy that's going to crack your chin and hurt you and put you down. So if you're not going to crack his chin, we're going to probably wrestle. Gilbert Burns can wrestle. Gilbert Burns got a gas tank. You're not submitting Gilbert Burns. He's a world-class BJJ black belt. Good luck. I want to see the man who submits Gilbert Burns. It's never happened. Not yet. Never happened. I don't think Sean Brady's the guy to do it. So 25 minutes, main event. Can Sean hold Gil down for 25 minutes? I don't think so. I like the dog here, Andy. Give me Gilbert Burns. I'm probably going to lock in some action on this one. I wouldn't mind an over, but at the same time, Gil could nuke Brady. If Bilal's hurting you on the feet in boxing range, Gil can too. Probably more so. So I like Gilbert Burns in this spot, man. What about you?
Wow, main event. We could not be on more different sides. This is fun.
Let's go.
This is fun. All right. So great points. We have a theory. We have lots of theories with
I
our
like
sports,
theories.
with our sports betting. And they work. We're up 158 units this year.
Beautiful.
We were up 91 units last year. So this is long term. One of the theories that we have is fade the baby theory. We always fade professional athletes.
Love that.
We have fade the uniform theory. This is great in MMA. If you can't get your uniform to fit right, we're fading you because what are the odds?
No, Marvin Vittori catching strays out here.
Yeah, there's a few of them. Just look for some of the women fighters that can't get their top right. You fade them.
I can't critique that. I don't have the hardware.
Well, we do it. We do it. Fade the side hustle is one of them.
Yep.
I don't like these fighters that are not full-time fighters. We saw this with Ricky Glenn, who's full-time tradesman, plumber, and trying to open his own jiu-jitsu gym in the middle of nowhere, Iowa, and he's gotten nuked in his last 3 fights. Gilbert Burns, as you mentioned, is kind of looking at careers outside of MMA, which is fine. He should. I just don't believe that he's all in on this. Losing to Jack Della Maddalena. By the way, Jack Della Maddalena, his time is coming, Clint. We are going to cash big fading this man. This guy was losing to Gilbert Burns, split decision against Holland, a split decision against Basil Hafez. This man's time is coming, and we're going to cash big on him. Yeah, I thought Gilbert faded towards the end of that. He loses to Bilal. Let me poke some holes in the wins of Gilbert Burns. Jorge Masvidal in his last fight. Neil Magny, who's old, Stephen Thompson, who's old, Tyrone Woodley, who's old, Damian Maia, who's old. His wins have been over guys that are 36 plus years old.
That's
John
fair.
Brady is 31 and in his physical prime. He's lost to Jack Della. He's lost to Bilal. He's lost to Chimaev. He lost to Kamaru Usman. And when I look at Sean Brady, I loved that he lost against Bilal. I love these guys that are undefeated and coming back on them when they lose their first fight. That first taste of loss really gets under him. And I thought his win against Gastelum was by far his best performance. I thought he looked way more hungry than he did because he was cruising through the UFC. And then Bilal opened his eyes and said, no, there's levels to this game. You're not on my level. I'm very high on Brady moving forward. I don't think Gilbert has the cardio to go 5 rounds. And I think Brady's going to ragdoll him. I think Brady is going to win on the ground, and Burns' cardio and not being able to absorb that damage from Jack Della was kind of a red flag for me. Gilbert Burns also, don't forget, had the big-time shoulder surgery after Bilal. So this is a guy that's getting up there in age. He's had some injuries. 5 rounds, and I think there's a reason why Sean Brady was pretty excited to take this fight. I mean, this Gastelum fight was 6-7 months ago. So who are you looking to fight next? Yeah, the older guy with the shoulder surgery that just lost to Jack Della. I think this is Brady, and it's one of my more confident plays on this card.
Okay. All right. So we're going head to head. Andy, we're going head to head in a couple of places on this card. What do you want to do as far as drinking bets goes? Are we lining them all up? Are we picking one that we're going to go for? What are we doing?
All right, so we got Burns and Brady we're against. Silva and Andrade we're going up against each other. And then you got to scroll all the way down because we're going against Fletcher and Ramaska and Petroski and Budka. If one of us goes 3-1, how about that? If it's 2-2, then it's a wash.
It's a wash.
If one of us goes 3-1, then we're doing 3 shots of Fireball. How's that?
I like it. 3 shots on the line, 4 fights. We're bookending the card. Ziggy Ramaska, Nathan Fletcher, Petroski, and Budka. And then the main and co-main events, Gilbert Burns, Sean Brady, Jessica Andrade, Natalia, Silva. You guys remember, this is a fun bet here. We got a parlay going on. 4 fights, 3 shots on the line. If we split 2-2, it's a push. I like it.
You ready for your Vikings bet?
I'm waiting, Andy. I've been so excited for this part. Give me the Vikings action. Let's go.
There's a bet on DraftKings. The first quarterback to throw for 400 yards in the season. Sam Darnold is 30-1. You know who he plays the first week?
Yes, I do.
The Giants, who are a bottom 2 secondary. You got Justin Jefferson, who's healthy. You got Jordan Addison, who is not suspended yet. And you've got a Vikings defense that can be exploited. And you've got absolutely no film on Sam Darnold and what he's going to do. You've also got your running back, who now can catch passes out of the backfield. At 30-1, and he plays 1 o'clock on Sunday. So there's only 2 games that will be played before that.
Lord.
30-1 on Sam Darnold to be the first. Now, if he doesn't get in the first game, he ain't getting it. But 30-1 for him to be the first guy against one of the worst, if not the worst secondary. I have a buddy who is a big-time Jets fan, and the Jets were practicing and scrimmaging against the Giants, and he's like, this Giants secondary is the worst secondary I have ever seen. In all my years of watching football, this is like the worst secondary. So 30-1, you can get Sam Darnold to be the very first quarterback to throw for 400 yards. There's
You
your
know
Vikings.
what? And I'm seeing 17-1 as the first quarterback to throw a touchdown as well. Oh, wait a second. No, that's the only one up. Andy, did they take it down? I'm seeing first QB to throw a TD. I'm seeing first QB to throw an interception. Where would I find the yards?
It's under I have to look it up. It's under a weird one, like scoring specials, team specials. It's up there. I looked at it earlier today.
Weekly specials. Okay, we're gonna have to do some research and find that there, because I like that bet, and it's a beautiful one to have on the Vikings. Let me tell you guys, I know a lot of you are anti-Vikings. You think I'm a bum. You think my team's bums, but they're not. And Sam Darnold, while he might not be the first round high-end, high-flying prospect that he was thought to be or supposed to be, since he got into the NFL, he's only had bottom 22 or worse offensive lines to work behind. The 1 year, or the one moment in time that he had a good offensive line to sit behind was when he got a brief moment to start for the 49ers, and he balled out when he was starting for the 49ers for a couple of weeks. The Vikings O-line is going to protect this guy and give him time. He's got a cannon. So don't sleep on my Vikings this season, because Sam could show a flash that no one's ever seen, because he's going to have more than 2 seconds to make a decision. Zach Wilson could throw behind this O-line.
I agree. I drafted Justin Jefferson in my fantasy draft. He was my number 1 pick. I love him.
I love it. I absolutely love it, Andy. You are the man. Not only coming on the show and sticking around for 2.5 hours, but giving me Vikings props that are 30-1. You're beautiful, my guy. Hey, now is your moment on the floor. I appreciate you and your time. If you've got anything that you want to advertise, if you've got, any promo code sponsorships, shows coming up, whatever you want to throw out there, let the people know how they can support you, where they can find more of your content and what you've got going on.
YouTube channel is called Winning in the Shadows. We are a professional betting group. We bet all of the plays that we give out. We're up 91 units last year. We're up 158 units this year in all sports. MMA and UFC is a big part of it. We do live shows for Dana White Contender Series. We do live shows for UFC. So we're big on the live bets. But really, it's more about our bankroll management. It's about being very selective in our process in which plays we pick. We are low volume, and we've proven time and time again that low volume can build your bankroll so much quicker. We actually did a test. We started with $10,000 last August. And if you just played all of our plays, you didn't take any money out of the bankroll, you're at $38,000 right now in just over a year. So we've got a great track record. We're completely transparent. Clint, every single week on Mondays, we do a video where we go over all of our plays, whether we win or we lose. There's not many people in the space that will say, here's where we sucked, here's where we were really good, and here's the adjustments that we make. We've listened to the audience. Full transparency is one of the number one things that people get really, really annoyed about. Like, oh, you only talk about when you win. But it's when you can talk about the wins and the losses, and when you can talk about it like a real business. And that's what we try and do at Winning in the Shadows. We've got a great group of people. We have a free Discord if you want free plays. It's a great group of people. We call it the cricket department. We've got some guys that follow cricket and they crush. We've got esports. We got some esports guys that do a great job on that. But really, it's about cashing in on some of these lines that the books are too soft on. We play a lot of plays that are kind of off of everyone's radar. And if they're off of everyone's radar, that means the books are not paying attention. You can get some really soft lines. So if you're interested in growing your bankroll, check us out. It's free YouTube, free Discord. We can help you out. And we also do consultations with your bankroll. Those are free. If you want to reach out to me, I can take a look at some of the bets that you're playing, take a look at how high your bankroll is, what's going right, what's going wrong. That is free. So Winning in the Shadows YouTube channel. And Clint, I got to tell you, your ads, Nuke is the best NASCAR live better I have ever seen in my entire life. And there's no second.
It's not even close.
It's not even close. He's great.
Thank you.
And, yes. And then the other one, your winning numbers. There are so many
fight numbers.
Yeah, fight numbers. There are so many things that average bettors can do to improve their chances to win on the books. And line shopping is one of the top ones. And I know that website, and I recommend them absolutely 100%.
Beautiful.
That is something that everybody should be taking advantage of. It takes no time to just look at the website and see where you can get the best number at and save yourself a juice. It makes a big difference. So when Clint talks about these guys, I back him 100%.
I thank you so much for saying that, Andy. That means a ton. Most of my listeners, at least the ones that have been with me for more than 6 months or so, I really only bring in sponsors that I agree with, believe in, or I feel like can help you guys in some way, shape, or form. That's the way I've always done it. That's the way I've always been. And I legitimately am trying to I'm not going to hawk somebody to you guys that I don't think is going to benefit you in some way for my own benefit. If it benefits me and it will help you, then I'm more than happy to agree to like an ad run or something like that with somebody like that. I'm only doing it with people that I legitimately believe in, especially when it comes to buying and selling picks these days. Touts out there, people will smash and grab, steal your money and run. I'm never going to suggest to you somebody that I'm not either tailing myself or can personally legitimately back and say with 1,000% certainty that they are legit. And that's why Razor and Keg are the only two guys I'll come on this show and be like, you guys buy their picks.
They bet their own picks. They have their own money invested.
Exactly.
That's what we do too. If
that's the thing, Andy, the cappers like you, my guests, like you guys come on, you share your knowledge. People can figure out where you are. And if they like your content, they can follow you there and support you. And if they want to buy your stuff, great. Like that's the whole point. People smarter than me, I bring you guys on the show to help everyone make money. That's the idea, right? But the only people that I'm like legitimately like, guys, you can seriously like tail this person nonstop and you'll make money. There's two guys I know personally because I do it myself. It's Keg and Razor. So there you go.
Great. They're great.
Yep. Well, Andy, I really appreciate your time coming on the show, man. I really do. This has been a ton of fun, an absolute blast, and a long one. So I hope you guys all really enjoyed the podcast as well. We're going head-to-head in a couple spots. It's pretty great. We have got some serious spots where I think we can make some money this week, which is also great. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you hit the like button on your way out. This is the home of fight, home of bets. We appreciate you guys. I'll see you Thursday for the Total Takedown, Friday for the Undefeated post-weigh-in show, and let's make some freaking money. Let's end the year strong in 2024. Let's roll.